Good morning and aloha to all of you. Will the Committee on Zoning please come to order at this time? I would like to welcome the committee members Dos Santos Tan, Tyler, Esther, Councilmember Kiaina, and Councilmember Matt Wire. Is there anyone else that may be on remote at this point in time? No. Okay. Although remote oral testimony is being permitted, this is a regular in-person meeting and not a remote meeting by interactive conference technology under HRS Section 92-3.7. Therefore, the meeting will continue notwithstanding loss of audio-visual communication with remote testifiers or loss of the public broadcast of the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda in two ways. First, remotely, once more remotely, and secondly, in person in the council chamber. Oral testimony will be allowed when each agenda item is taken up in the following order. We will be taking up remote testimony first, and then in-person testimony once more in the council chamber. Before testifying, each person shall state their full name and the agenda item they are testifying on. Each speaker may not have anyone else read their statement and is limited to a 1-minute presentation per item. All persons who have registered to testify remotely by video conference or phone will be called upon first. When your name is called, please monitor your screen and activate your audio feed when prompted. The following are some friendly reminders and tips. Video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you are watching the proceeding on Olelo, please mute your device at the time you are called to testify. When the timer on the screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number, and when your number is called, please press *6 to unmute yourself when prompted. Once all the remote testifiers have testified, I will proceed to in-person testimony in the council chambers. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to speak following the oral testimonies of the registered speakers. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. So as a courtesy for all of us, please turn off all your cell phones. Okay, let's proceed on. At this point in time, we're moving on to agenda item number 1, Bill 36 of 2023, and this bill relates to building permit applications. Members, we have posted to the agenda a committee draft 1 version of the bill. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. At this time, we would like to have the administration, Ms. Dawn Takeuchi Apuna, come up to the rostrum on Bill 36.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee, Dawn Apuna, DPP. We support this measure as currently amended because it will help us streamline to some extent our ability to accept permit applications and not have this extra paperwork that is timely to verify, et cetera, and also on the applicant side as well. It seems to be an extra step that's unnecessary and creates more unnecessary bureaucracy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Members, are there any questions? So what amendment did we do, members of the council? Let's not read your measure now. It should have been done prior to our meeting, so what did we do? Ms. Apuna, would you explain to the members of the council? All we did was delete the repetitive provisions in regards to affidavits, if I stand corrected.
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
No, I was asking my colleagues if they had read the measure before we come to this hearing. I'm trying to be an educator this morning. So what did we do as far as the draft that is before us?
So the current draft removes the section that provides penalties for professional architects, engineers who, I think that they have I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the exact wording, but it was to go after architects and engineers who did
Okay.
something wrong previously.
For the members, okay.
Would you like me to explain?
Yes, please do.
Thank you so much.
Councilmember Kiaina.
Your CD1
Yes.
clarifies that the purpose of the bill is to remove the requirement that a building permit application contain a written and signed attestation from the owner stating that the owner has no outstanding fines payable to or liens in favor of the city and county of Honolulu. It removes the provision that would prohibit individuals from applying that have either been previously convicted of bribery or caused a DPP employee to be convicted. And lastly, it removes the retroactive effect from the measure.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Councilmember DeSantos Tan.
Chair, I have a question about, so the proposed CD1, if it were to be passed out and go into effect, it would remove the attestation. So if we were to remove the attestation for somebody who has accrued fines or other such violations, if we pass this bill, does this allow people who have outstanding fines, perhaps in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, to just continue to submit building permit applications?
I'll defer to the department in that particular point, that question.
So the department can still look at, when we take an application, we can look at if there's existing or pending violations or fines and still not allow the permit to move forward. It's just the paperwork that's involved to get an affidavit. I think prior to this, it required a notarized form. So we're trying to just make it easier for people to apply, but there is still the ability for the department to not allow applications without this.
And where does the authority for the department to deny an application from an applicant that has outstanding violations or fines come from? Is that in the admin rules?
I believe it's in the ROH, and I don't have that specific section, but I believe that we have the ability to not allow application of building permit if you have existing violations.
So how would the department know if an applicant submits an application and has outstanding violations if they don't have an attestation that they don't?
So in our records, in our posse system, it says whether they have pending violations.
Okay, and then what would happen if somebody, and this happens not infrequently, has multiple LLCs? They have 2525 Kanoa Street LLC, and they apply, and then they also own 2527 Kanoa Street LLC, one of which has fines, one of which is a new application. How would you know that it's that person who's been serially doing this?
Well, it is difficult for us to go through all of those different, whatever is listed, I think, on record as the owner, the contractor, et cetera, that's who and how they apply. It's based on that. We do some research, and that's also, that's a challenge for us, but I think it's separate from an affidavit, a signed affidavit attesting to those fines.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, without the signed attestation, this is one step that makes it a little bit easier and clearer. And if they are found subsequently to, have a number of fines and be in violation, then we can go back and sort of claw back the application. And I guess what this bill proposes to do, to remove the requirement for a written and signed attestation, I worry that it makes it easier for a serial violator to continue to put in applications, clog up the system for applications that they shouldn't be receiving in the first place.
I recognize your concern, but I think the department is well aware of these serial violators. And so, even staff, they know when they have a lot of pending violations. So they're already alerted. So I don't think practically speaking, it wouldn't be an issue It's kind of like we're throwing a really wide net that takes a lot of time and steps, et cetera, when we know this bill originally, or not this bill, but this law originally was intended to go after the serial violators or the 1 or 2%. But I think we can handle those on our own because we are aware of them, and we can just make sure that they aren't able to apply when they have so many violations.
You know, if your office could get the other section of ROH that purportedly prevents or would allow DPP to have the authority to deny an application, that would make me feel a lot more comfortable. But right now, in looking at the black and white of the CD1, it purports to remove the provision that no permit application will be accepted or processed if the owner has any such outstanding fines or liens. And if there's another portion that prohibits this, fine. But if this is the only tool that we have that would allow DPP to deny somebody with a serial violator with a ton of outstanding violations from applying, then I wouldn't be comfortable removing it.
Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, if you look at the measure before us, if you look at number 7, it states for the record that state the following information for each subcontractor or subcontractor engaged to do electrical, plumbing work, upon the building, structure, or project. You have to have the name, the address, contractor's license, number, and particular phases of work to be performed. Be signed, number 8, be signed by the responsible managing employee or authorized employee of each subcontractor designated in the subdivision 7. So at that point, I believe the department won't be capable of analyzing the respective names of these particular individuals and the LLC. But more importantly, this is one way of trying to fast track the measure also with the repeal of that particular section. Okay? But we did amend it now. If you look at the amendment before us, we did delete the subsection and we replaced it with the subdivision, which is a much more larger project. Okay. Any other questions for the director? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. And we have Councilwoman Cordero, who just arrived. Nice to see you here. You look so beautiful. Okay. Okay,
Chair.
any further questions for the director? Please, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate DPP's insight. Director, I was just curious, was there any position on the CD in terms of the modification of the purpose? And I'm wondering if CORE had any opinion on that, or if it's allowable because it's being narrowed versus changed, or what exactly the position is on that? Because I think my understanding was the initial purpose was to impose criminal sanctions, right?
Yeah, so the original purpose, it was twofold. It was the criminal sanctions for, bribery-related convictions, and then this section that's remained. So I think the narrowing is okay. I would defer to CORE.
I just want to make sure we're all on the same page on that, because otherwise I'm going to defer to Chair and have no issues with the bill.
Mr. Pang, would you like to respond to the question of Councilmember Wire?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
I guess the question was just to make sure we're good with moving the bill out if Chair so recommends, with the purpose being amended in the CD, because it's narrowing, I guess, versus changing. I don't know if there's any issues that CORE's advised DPP on regarding that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, we haven't looked at that, but in general, purpose of bills should not be amended.
Okay. But it sounds like you don't have a position on it
Yeah.
today then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Mahalo. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any further questions, members? If not, may we proceed on? Oh,
Chair,
It's up
if I may,
Yeah,
with
Director.
regard to Councilmember Dos Santos Tam's concern, the subsection 12 that's deleted, if we put back in no permit applicate, the second portion of that paragraph that would ensure council members' concern that we would not allow applications if there are any outstanding fines or fees. So maybe an amendment to put back the second sentence of subparagraph 12.
So what you're saying is that on page 3 of the measure, the committee draft 1, you like to restore the subsection 12. Is that what you're saying? Even though right now it shows that we're deleting. It's contain a written and,
Yes, except to continue to delete the first sentence, contain a written and signed
Right.
attestation, and then just let the second sentence be
Okay.
replaced or reinstated.
would that clarify the issue that you may have, council member?
Yes, Chair, I think that that's a prudent measure. I hear DPP's concerns about the paperwork with the written and signed attestation. But again, I think it's important that we as policymakers make a statement that people who are serial violators or people who have accrued, numerous violations, they can't have permits processed until they've corrected that.
Okay. Your point is very much well taken. Does the members of the zoning committee understand that? If you look on page 3 of the measure, what Director Apuna is stating for the record is that she would like to restore the second, on subsection 12, sentence number 2. If I stand corrected, that we'd like to restore that no permit application shall be accepted or processed if the owner has any such outstanding fines or liens, provided that a permit application will be accepted and processed if it is to correct a violation on the zoning law. That's the amendment that you're proposing, Director Apuna. Is that the,
I'm sorry. So
was that the proposal on subsection 12 where I had deleted it all?
yes,
We're gonna restore the second sentence of that paragraph.
yes, we're agreeable to that. Thank you.
Okay. Is that okay with Councilmember Wire, that if you got the measure before you, that we're restoring that second sentence? Councilmember Kiana, and Councilmember DeSantos Tam, and Councilmember Cordero. Corporation Council Pang.
To follow up on Councilmember Wire's question, the ordinance actually does prohibit amendments to the original purpose. So if you go back to the original purpose and you make these amendments, it probably, you can do that. So the CD1 that amends the purpose, that would probably violate the charter, but the original purpose would contain the CD1 changes and the changes that the director just mentioned. So you don't need to change the purpose.
Okay, and can you explain to the members of the council zoning committee the purpose? The purpose is found where in this?
The purpose is section 1.
Okay.
And your CD1 version
the
kind of,
purpose section,
yeah,
yeah.
amends it. So you can keep the purpose.
Yeah.
Because it disallows permit applications, and then and removes the affidavit requirement of stating no outstanding fines or liens. So you actually are removing it, but you're keeping in that
the purpose.
that second sentence
Yeah.
that says they can deny a building permit.
Okay. Yes, purpose. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Councilmember DeSantos Sam, is that okay with you? Now, my question for you, Mr. Pang, then would, do we have to go back to the original purpose?
Yes, you can't change.
For
You can't,
section
the
1.
charter prohibits changing the original purpose of a bill.
Let me explain once more, Mr. Pang. I've got the original
Is that the
purpose
original?
provision, which is Bill 36. The purpose of this ordinance is to disallow building permit applications from applicants who have been convicted of a criminal offense involving the acceptance of a bribe or who caused an employee of the Department of Planning and Permitting to be convicted of the same, and remove the affidavit requirement of stating no outstanding fines or liens for building permit applications. This is the original draft. Okay, Chief wants me to take a short recess subject to the call of the chair. Will the committee please come to order? Okay, discussing the proposed amendments by the committee and by the administration. For the members and for the general public at large, once more, I'll state for the record, we are going to be restoring the original Section 1 relating to building permits on Bill 36, and this is what it's going to read. Section 1, the purpose of this ordinance is to disallow building permit applications from applicants who have been convicted of a criminal offense involving the acceptance of a bribe or who caused an employee of the Department of Planning and Permitting to be convicted of the same, and remove the affidavit requirement of stating no outstanding fines or liens for building permits. Okay, that's the present Section 1 in our ordinance. Then we're going to go to subsection, let's see. I have it right here for the members and for the general public on subsection 12. We'll be deleting the first sentence of subsection 12, and we'll be restoring the second sentence of the paragraph where no permit application will be accepted or processed if the owner has any such outstanding fines or liens, provided that a permit application will be accepted and processed if it is to correct a violation on the zoning law. Does everyone understand that? please. So those are the amendments to the draft that is before us. So in the purpose clause, it already states for the record that we have all of these requirements. And then for subsection 12, we will be incorporating that the permit application, no permit application, following up to what the purpose clause of section 1 is. Councilmember Wire, you're the attorney from this august body and zoning committee. Any thoughts?
I appreciate Chair's guidance, and I'll defer, but do welcome the amendments.
Yeah.
Mahalo.
Okay. Any further discussion, members? If not, let's proceed on to the remote testifiers. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we do.
Okay, who do we have? Oh, good morning, Ms. Young. Please proceed on Bill 36.
Yes, aloha, Chair and City Council. Angela Melody Young. I'm testifying in my personal capacity, not representing a grassroots level organization, just as an individual, because I strongly oppose this bill. And I didn't, I don't know who the author is. I'm not being like play favorites or anything. I rarely ever oppose any bills. And this time I'm opposing because the purpose of the bill is to address bribery and to say that we should not have bribery. So I think, and it says we should not have bribery. And I think this policy is moving in the opposite direction of a good law because you're not solving the root of the problem and instead it focuses on punishment. And I've personally had to experience a lot of discrimination and prejudice with my Chinese immigrant community. And because there were a lot of new Chinese neighbors, immigrants who were new homeowners and started to develop in the neighborhood. And we experienced a lot of discrimination when developing, when I had to translate the permit process for the neighbors, developers, and the architects. And there were non-immigrant neighbors who were being prejudiced. Specific characteristics were saying that they're trying to scare us, saying like, oh, there was a Chinese developer who bribed someone. So, we're going to look into your records. We're going to do name checks. We're going to see your citizenship. And, there was prejudice. It was blatant prejudice. And none of these behaviors are
Ms. Young, you're deviating from the original intent of the measure, but I can understand your concern. Okay. Members, any questions for Ms. Young? If not, okay. Madam Clerk, are there any more remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you. We'll now proceed with the in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify on Bill 36? Please come forward to testify at podium and state your name for the record. I don't see anyone. Okay. Members, at this point in time, we are now in discussion on Bill 36. Okay, at this time, if the chair would like to recommend that Bill 36 of 2023 be amended, and we will take into consideration the oral discussion. Or we're gonna go with the posted CD and then make the amendments again? Okay. Chair, the chief has asked me that we will recommend that Bill 36 be amended to the posted committee draft 1, and there will be further amendments as we discussed earlier. Okay. So we'll go back to the original draft of Bill 36 for section number 1. And that is the purpose of this ordinance is to disallow building permit applications from applicants who have been convicted of a criminal offense involving the acceptance of a bribe or who caused an employee of the Department of Planning and Permit to be convicted of the same, and remove the affidavit requirement of stating no outstanding fines or liens for building permit applications. Okay, that's the original section 1. The next amendment is in regards to page 3 that we talked about, and that will be subsection 12, where we had it deleted as far as subsection 12, but after discussion with the attorneys, we will be incorporating the second sentence of subsection 12 that no permit application will be accepted or processed if the owner has any such outstanding fines or liens, provided that a permit application will be accepted and processed if it is to correct a violation on the zoning lot. That is to incorporate the concerns by Councilmember Santos Tam. Mr. Pang, is the chair correct in the statements that I've just made as the further amendments to it, which is restoring section 1?
Yes, that is my understanding. Section
Okay.
1 will be restored to the original purpose.
And clarifying, secondly, subsection 12 will be incorporating the second sentence of the paragraph that states once more that no permit applications will be accepted or processed if the owner has any such outstanding fines or liens. That will be part of it. Okay, which is what I think Councilmember DeSantos Tam had wanted. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, the bill has been amended to a committee draft 1. And at this point in time, the chair then recommends that Bill 36, 2023, committee draft 1 be reported out for passage on second reading and scheduling of a public hearing. Any discussions, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, thank you very much, members and the general public. Let's move on. And we will be taking 2 agenda items at the same time. This is agenda items number 2 and 3 together. For the members of the zoning committee, item number 2 is regards to Bill 50 of 2023, Committee Draft 1. This bill expands the transit-oriented development special district to include 1 additional rail transit project station area and incorporates land use standards and guidelines for that area based on the recommendations in the Halava Area TOD plan. Members, we do have posted on the agenda 2 proposed committee draft versions of Bill 50 of 2023, Committee Draft 1 submitted by Councilmember Cordero, and another that I submitted myself. And for your information, summaries of the amendments to each of the committee draft 2s are listed on the agenda. At this point in time, members of the zoning committee, I will now defer to Councilmember Cordero to explain her committee draft 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Of course, my amendments for Bill 50 specifically, CD1, are posted on the for the proposed CD2 are posted on the agenda. And I do want to note that it does also incorporate our zoning chair Say's amendments, as well as additional amendments relating to Native Hawaiian cultural and historic resources. During this moment, during the last deliberation, while the bill was both extended as well as being deliberated in the communities as well as in the committee, we were able to talk with the council staff as well as my office, as well as DPP and our community to discuss different ways we can preserve our resources, while in the lens of keeping it to what Bill 50 is about, which relates to the land use standards and guidelines for the TOD area. Now, while we aren't able to dive into the actual amendments of the TOD plans with such guideline bills, this is something that we can move forward to not just protect our Native Hawaiian cultural resources and sites in this one TOD area, but all TOD areas in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. At this point in time, members of the zoning committee, since I see that Councilmember Cordero's committee draft 2 incorporates all of the proposed amendments in my own CD2, I will be withdrawing my committee draft 2. Okay, but are there any questions for the amendments proposed by Councilwoman Cordero? Basically making it more of a Hawaiian cultural feel for the Halava station. If not, may we proceed on, members and the general public, to item number 3. This is also Bill 51 of 2023, Committee Draft 1, and this bill rezones land situated near the Kamehameha Highway and Salt Lake Boulevard intersection, Halava Aloha Stadium Rail Station area in Halava, Oahu, from the A1 low density apartment, A2 medium density apartment, B1 neighborhood business, B2 community business, F1 military and federal preservation, and R5 residential districts to a AMX to medium density apartment, mixed use to a AMX3 high density apartment, community business district, if I stand corrected, mixed use, F1 military and federal preservation, and finally a P2 general preservation district. Members, we have posted to the agenda a proposed committee draft 2 version of the measure. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. Okay. Any questions? Nope. Discussion? If not, let's proceed on to the administration. Ms. Apuna, the Director of Department of Planning and Permitting.
Thank you, Chair. The department has no issues with either of the CD ones, and we have staff here, our administrator, TOD Administrator Tim Stripes, for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the Director at this point in time? Not yet. Let's proceed on then. Madam Clerk, we will now proceed with the remote testimony on Bills 50 and 51 of 2023. Madam Clerk, any remote testifiers?
Yes, Chair, we do.
Okay. First, we have Ms. Kehaulani Lum, the Ali'i Pauahi Hawaiian Civic Club. Kehau, are you there?
Aloha, I'm here. Trying to put my camera on.
Oh.
Aloha kakahiaka,
Okay.
Chair Say, Vice Chair Dos Santos Tam, and members of the Zoning Committee. I'm going to testify on both items, so hope that gives me 2 minutes in case I run over one.
Okay.
I'm Kehaulani Lam, a descendant of the native stewards of the Kuleana o Ma'ona Aiea, which were gifted by King Kamehameha III. I'm also president of the Ali'i Pauahi Hawaiian Civic Club, a recipient of a MOU with the U.S. Navy to restore the 500-year-old Loko'i'a Pa'aiao located between the Halava and Aiea rail stations. The photo behind me shows what has happened over 10 years of community support. I'm also a consulting party to the HART programmatic agreement that the City and County of Honolulu signed in 2011 as a condition of full funding for the rail. Ali'i Pauahi strongly supports the proposed CD2 submitted by Councilmember Cordero. Without this language, Bill 50 fails to protect Native Hawaiian cultural and historic resources and sites, as well as our traditional and customary practices. It does this by incorporating TOD plans that do not recognize their presence, particularly in the Halava and Aiea Pearl City area, but they are not recognized throughout all of the neighborhoods. Moreover, it violates the PA of the rail project, without which TOD would not exist. My full testimony goes into more detail about that. We urge the committee's further support in the Halava TOD plan section. That plan notes plantation era and military cultural historic sites, yet it is devoid of any reference to Native Hawaiian cultural sites and resources. It further threatens the fish pond's continued access to fresh water. It may help the council to know that for the past 8 years, the community has been working diligently to restore this pond. We have earned commendations from the Honolulu City Council and historic preservation advocates. The project has received important fiscal support from the city and county to train young people in the traditional arts of fish pond wall building, and thousands of area residents, students, organizations, and visitors help malama this sacred site every year for the past decade. We just entered into MOU, which allows us to be there in perpetuity. It is a beloved community partnership that is grounded in the spirit of aloha and envisions perpetual stewardship, and the city has been with us all along. We urge the committee's mahalo to Councilmember Cordero and to the committee for your serious consideration. We also thank DPP and Tim for their time. Your support will ensure the protection of cherished Native Hawaiian cultural resources and sites along the rail before they are forever gone. Me ke aloha pumehana, Kehaulani Lam. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lum. Okay, and that was in testimony for both Bill 50 and 51. if I stand.
Yes,
Okay,
Kalamai.
thank you. Any questions for Ms. Lum before we proceed on to the next testifier on remote? If not, thank you very much for your support and your input and convincing, I think, a lot of the zoning committee members in support of preserving our cultural heritage.
Mahalo.
Yep. Next, we have Mr. Harrison Rue.
Testifier is not logged on, Chair.
Okay. He's not logged on. Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any further remote testifiers at this point in time?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, let's proceed on, members, for the, oh, any questions? No, let's proceed on with the in-person testifiers. Are there any, Madam Clerk, are there any?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, there are none, okay. Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify? Please come forward to the testifier's podium and state your name for the record. Okay, there are none. So members, we are in discussion in regards to Bill 50 and 51. Yes, Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. I just want to thank Auntie Kehalani Lam for her great discussions that we've had in the community, but especially throughout the, for all the groups and the Civic Club for their continued discussion and support of the AIA, the Kalawao, and Halava Ahupua'as. So thank you very much, not only for catching this and allowing us to work with you, as well as DPP on this language. Mahalo.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, if there is no further discussion, let's proceed on. The chair would like to recommend that Bill 50 of 2023, Committee Draft 1, be amended to the posted Committee Draft 2, proposed by Councilmember Cordero, OCS 2023-147/11/21/2023 at 10:06 a.m. Any comments on the amendments on the cultural Hawaiian edition? Yeah, Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Jared. Just wanted to note, I appreciate Floor Leader Cordero and also yourself in moving this forward and just the work that went into the amendments.
No, thank you very much. Okay, any other discussion? Are there any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the bill has been amended to a Committee Draft 2. The chair then recommends that Bill 50 of 2023, Committee Draft 2, be reported out for passage on third reading. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. So, Councilmember Cordero, maybe next week when we have our full council, you can say a few words on it, yeah?
Thank you.
Okay, got it. Let's move on, members, to the Bill 51. At this point, the chair would like to recommend that Bill 51 of 2023, Committee Draft 1, be amended to the posted Committee Draft 2. I'll ask the questions to Councilmember Kiaina. Esther, what's the Committee Draft 2 about? Summarize it for us.
Is this agenda item number 3?
Yes. Bill 51.
The CD one?
Yes.
It updates Exhibit A map to reflect a zone change along northeastern portion of Halava Stream from R5 Residential District to P2 General Preservation District instead of BMX3 Community Business Mixed Use District to preserve Halava Stream as a green corridor as recommended in the Halava TOD plan.
Great. Any other discussion, members? So basically what we're doing is downzoning to a preservation zone that is adjacent to the stream, right? Would county ordinance, Councilmember DeSantos tab, how much do we have as far as private ownership of these streams?
That's a great question, and I wish we knew the answer.
Okay, same here. I don't know the answer, but I'm just posing these questions for all of us to be educated, right? Okay. Since there are no further discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the bill has been amended to the CD2, Committee Draft 2. The chair then recommends that Bill 51 of 2023, Committee Draft 2, be reported out for passage on third reading. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda number 4, Resolution 23-272. This resolution amends Resolution 17-221, Committee Draft 1, as amended by Resolution 20-170 CD1 to extend the deadline to obtain a building permit for an interim plan development transit project proposed by Mana Olana Partners of 1500 LLC to redevelop 78,973 square feet of land zoned BMX community business mixed use district within the Ala Moana neighborhood TOD plan area with a mixed use hotel, 444 hotel units, residential, 6 penthouse residential units, and commercial, ground floor commercial, and restaurant space. At this time, the project is located at 1460, 1470, 1488, and 1500 Kapilani Boulevard, and currently as identified by tax map keys 2-3-021:043 and 044. Members, we have posted to the agenda a proposed Committee Draft 1 version of the resolution. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda addendum for all of you to read about. Joining us in the council chamber, we have Mr. Isaiah Sato from RM Tao, the applicant's agent, to give a brief overview on the reasons for the requested extension of time. Mr. Sato. Sato? Oh, right there, to our left. Okay.
On the other side today. Thank you for having me here today. My name is Isaiah Sato, and I work with RM Tao Corporation. We're the agent for the developer on this project, Mana Olana, and we have 2 members of the developer here as well to answer questions. First off, I wanted to thank the council for allowing us to be here today and to come before you for a project extension. We generally support the CD1 to Resolution 23-272. However, we are requesting an additional time to adequately prepare project modifications and allow DPP and council time to review. So we would like to request 150 days instead of 95 days, and that would extend the building permit deadline to May 24th and would allow the project 2 extra months or to appear before the May zoning and May full council meeting in 2024. And we look forward to continuing to work with the department and city council to advance the 1500 Kapiolani project. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sato. Any questions for the applicant at this point in time? If not, may we proceed on, members, to the Department of Planning and Permitting, Ms. Dawn Apuna, Director.
Thank you, Chair. We are agreeable to the extension, the resolution. However, we too would appreciate more time than 95 days in order to receive and process the extension and any potential changes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, may we proceed on, members, to the remote testifiers. Madam Clerk, are there any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay. At this point in time, if there are no remote testifiers, may we proceed on to the in-person testimony. Okay, we have here Mr. Ricky Cassidy. Mr. Cassidy? Rick Cassidy. Okay, if he's not here. Okay, if not, let's go with Mr. Kevin Carney. Kevin Carney, Kevin of EAH. Oh,
Committee. Oops, sorry. I'll repeat that. Good morning, Chair Say and members of the Zoning Committee. My name is Kevin Carney, and I'm speaking here this morning as an advocate for affordable rental housing. I did submit written testimony, but I wanted to come in person to emphasize my support for this project, particularly as it relates to affordable rental housing. I've been involved with this project since 2017, and I continue to support it. I figure, why stop now? As an affordable housing advocate, this project to me is all about location, location, location. Those who develop low-income rental housing could not afford to pay to purchase land in this very high-cost area. As I see it, this is a very rare opportunity to house our kapuna in this very expensive location. I urge the council to move this project forward as soon as possible, and I thank you for your time. Mahalo.
Any questions for Mr. Carney? Mr. Carney, you and I go back a long time, yeah?
Yes, sir.
The delay that I foresee is, why have it been 6 years? Why has it been 6 years from 2017 till today? No activity has happened.
Well, I'll give you the short answer. The short answer is the economy, number one, and then the economy impacted by COVID, number two. There just was not financing available, either financing available throughout the world, actually, because the developer did try to get financing from outside the United States as well. They've tried very, very hard to move this project forward. I can tell you that, as you know, Chair, I was previously the Vice President of EAH Housing, retired last year, but I can tell you that EAH Housing has spent many, many, many hours working with the developer, the architects, the lawyers, et cetera, working out the agreements so that we could produce this affordable rental housing for Kapuna along the Kapiolani corridor.
Okay, and one final thought. Throughout this 12 months I've been the chair of zoning, will the affordable section of this project apply for the 2-1H?
That was the general plan. I can't speak for EAH at this point in time, but yes, that was the plan, a LIHTC project serving Kapuna primarily at 60% AMI and below.
Because I can't think, or I can't say what the thinking was in 2017 when this project was adopted by the full council. And during these years of COVID, the international monetary crisis that may be occurring, originally you folks had requested 3 years. I think maybe you can't guarantee us 3 years, but things have changed. Things have changed tremendously on the Kapolani corridor, the Keamoku corridor, Makaloa, et cetera, et cetera. I know you can't guarantee me, but my point to all of these council members who are here, to give them another 3 years. Some of us may not be here, some of us will be all get back here, but basically, Kevin, there is no guarantee, right? That in 3 years you get a project shovel ready.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
You know, I can tell you, developing affordable rental housing alone without this complication of co-developing for hotel condo is not a walk in the park. It's a journey, and it takes a lot of perseverance to get through to the end. There's just so many different financing capital stack investments involved that there's never any guarantee. There's huge risk on the developer. And in this case, there's huge risk on both the developer of the hotel condo project as well as the developer of the affordable housing project. So, you know, as a developer of 25 plus years, there are no guarantees, period.
Okay, Your point is very much well taken. Any other questions for Mr. Carney, which I respect a lot? Councilmember Cordero.
Hi, Mr. Carney. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your testimony, and I was just wondering about when developing those agreements with doing affordable housing or senior affordable housing, and then alongside another type of development, what in the agreement does EAH or an affordable housing developer have assurance that they will get support from the rest of the development to actually build?
Okay, that question is kind of vague. I'm not sure exactly what you're looking for. The plan would be, like I said, for the developer of the affordable portion to apply for low-income housing tax credits, right? The project is to be developed above the parking garage of the former Walmart space. So we're limited to how high we can go because of the structural foundation of the parking garage, right? But again, you know, when you're dealing with the competition for tax credits, the competition for rental housing revolving fund, et cetera, the competition, I expect that the developer would apply for the city and county's affordable housing fund as well as private activity bonds. So it's very complicated, and like I said, it's highly competitive.
Is it, Mr. Carney, is it reasonable to ask if the senior affordable housing be developed at the same time that the rest of the development is built?
Well, according to the current agreement, the hotel condo cannot proceed until the affordable rental project would receive its building permit.
Will receive its building permit. Okay. And when you first started talking about partnering with a developer to do senior affordable housing, how many units did you plan out?
78.
78, and it's still currently 78.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, we're capped as how high we can go. So you know, if we were building from ground level up, we'd prefer a lot more units. Yes.
Right. And as the zoning chair mentioned, the tune of the need for affordable housing and senior affordable housing has, of course, increased throughout the years since this project was originally adopted. And so do you know what the reception has been at the community and neighborhood boards level regarding the 78 affordable housing units?
I do not know what that would be. I don't think that it would receive a lot of pushback on this project, mainly because of the need for Kapuna housing in particular, and in this case, again, because of the location and the availability of shopping, medical, mass transit, et cetera.
Okay, thank you. And as you mentioned, there's parking below the units, right?
Correct.
And don't you think that if we had no parking, that we would be able to have more units?
That's a possibility. It's complicated, changing a parking level into a residential level. I'm sure that's going to add more cost to the project, so we'd have to reevaluate that. But I believe it can be done. It's just a matter of how much cost we're going to need to put into it. And again, I'm speaking as a citizen here, right? Not as a representative of EAH Housing or the developer, for that matter.
Understood. Yeah, I'm just thinking because, I mean, when we talk about TOD, and yes, we think about it relating to rail, but when I take the bus, a lot of the times I'm transferring or going through Ala Moana, and so TOD, or transit-oriented development, is not just for rail, it's also relating to other types of modes of transportation. So, I mean, I just hope that we can, I guess, look at lowering our parking allowance for developments, especially ones that's across Ala Moana and the TOD or transit hubs at Ala Moana, is just my point. Thank you.
Right, because parking doesn't come cheap either, you know. It's
exactly, yeah. Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Carney? Councilmember DeSanto Stan?
Thank you. Following up on Councilmember Cordero's question about the parking, I understand that the affordable rental component of the project is intended to be built on top of the parking podium. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I know that there's been a number of concerns about whether, if the hotel component, if the tower component goes forward, whether or not the affordable housing component will go through. So as the sort of affordable rental partner in this, can the parking garage and parking podium be physically built in such a way that the affordable tower wouldn't be built? It seems to me that you do all this engineering to build the tower itself, and it seems not quite silly, but it seems like, why would you go through all the effort to fortify the parking podium and not go ahead and build the affordable rental tower?
Well, again, let me clarify. Number one, again, I'm going to say I don't represent EAH Housing, so I'm not the developer of the affordable rental housing portion. The original plan was to build on top of the Walmart, and according to the current development agreement, that still stands, to build on top of the Walmart parking garage, right? And that the maximum capacity of doing that is 78 units, basically, of one and two studio and one bedroom units, and I think there was 1 2-bedroom unit for a resident manager. Now, what I'm hearing said is if we took away some of the parking requirements and go lower into that parking garage, that may be possible, right? It's just a matter of, okay, what it's going to require, how many units. I'm going to assume that we could not get the same amount of units in there if we were building from the ground up, right? Because of all the structural components that are in that parking garage. So again, I believe it's possible. It just comes down to a matter of cost and how we financing. And the developer, as I said, the developer of the hotel condo cannot proceed until the affordable portion gets its building permit, right? The concept was from the beginning to build together, use the same contractor to get economy of costs on the one site, and not have the affordable portion developing theirs, and then the commercial portion of the hotel condo part developing theirs. We wanted to use the same developer to get some economy of scale. I mean, the same contractor to get some economy of scale there.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions from Mr. Carney? If there is no further questions, thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you all.
Nice to see you, yes. May we proceed on to Jolie Tokusato?
Hi, I'm Jolie Tokusato, and I wanted to say thank you so much, Chair Say, for putting this on the agenda. Unite Here Local 5 represents hotel, healthcare, and food service workers throughout the state. We are in strong support of Resolution 23272 CD1, the original version, for 3 years and not the 95-day version. It's very rare that Local 5 comes before this council to support a development project, and we didn't support this project when it first came before the council, but things have changed. This developer is partnering with EAH. They're providing 78 affordable homes for some of the most vulnerable members in our community, which is the kupuna, and it's for kupuna at 30 to 80% of the AMI. And this project will preserve the rent set by HUD for 60 years, and the 60 years was proposed in 2017, making this developer a little more decent than the others, in my opinion, sorry. Those rentals are of decent size as well, averaging over 400 square feet. And those rentals are going to be on site, and it's going to be a green building. This project is providing many long-term benefits and not just short-term benefits. These points alone are noteworthy in itself for the full 3-year extension. We really appreciate the council's effort, your effort, Chair, to ask more for the community. But Local 5 believes 95 days is not enough time. We need to give this project the time they need to fulfill their promises to the community, and even DPP wants 3 years too. The pandemic has affected nearly everything for the last 3 years, so it's reasonable, in my opinion, to give them a 3-year extension. So Local 5 has always advocated for more community benefits on nearly all the recent developments on Oahu. And finally, this is a project that we can fully support. So please grant the 3-year extension. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Ms. Tokusato? Okay, Councilmember Kia.
Thank you. Thank you for being here today. Can I ask you, since you support this project, if this measure moves forward today with the CD1, to have the applicant come back with modifications to the community benefits package, ideally, what would that look like?
You mean more community benefits?
Yes, that's why it's being sent back.
We'd ask for, Local 5, we want everything for the community, right? But in this project, the reason why, I've been before this council so many times, the other developers want to give you 200 square feet condos with no amenities. I've seen other developers want to put in a poor door, give through, $3 million in lieu of, that type of thing. This is something that for once, we're like, oh my gosh, this is, at least better than any other project that I've seen. So that's why we're supporting. But if they want to give more, absolutely. As far as council member says, concerned about what if they're not prepared in 3 years, or if they don't fulfill their promises, the Local 5, how we are. We're always gonna bang down your doors to let you know what we think about something, right? So, please give them the 3-year extension.
Okay, any further questions for Ms. Tokusato? Thank you very much, Ms. Tokusato. Let's proceed on to Mr. Rick Cassidy. I see Rick in the back.
Good to see you.
Same
Good
here.
to see all of you. Some of you know me. Basically, I do market research. I've been doing it for a long time. Started with Gentry, went to Castle and Cook, and then 20 years ago hung out my own shingle and did market studies. Probably done more affordable housing studies than anybody in the state. Gary Fruit has been a great friend. Actually, my thing is simple. I'd much rather answer your questions. But if you look at Hawaii, our comparative advantage really is our quality of life, and we've monetized it better than any other industry except the military, for giving our kids a future and employment to our citizenry. I'm also part Hawaiian. I look at location, and this is a great location for what it's supposed to do, which is service people who want to come here and enjoy our quality of life and give us a good remuneration for it. I've known these guys for a while, mainly on the outer islands. They're straightforward, they're intelligent, they've worked with people, and they learn. Some developers don't learn. The best ones are proactive, like Stanford. Anyway, that's too much of me and not enough of you. Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Cassidy? Rick, you and I go back a long time at this point, Mr. Cassidy, and my major concern has been many, but one of them that really bothers me that I don't know the history of it is when this particular council, our predecessors, changed the zoning that for this particular project, you have a condotel. Now, in this particular project is granted the zoning for a condotel.
Okay.
Was it 4 years ago, 5 years ago, that the council then changed it that there's not going to be any hotels in this area of the TOD?
Okay.
That's the kind of questions I pose to you and others, because that hotel zoning has given the developer a tremendous opportunity for the sale in 6 years on top of a condo. I don't know, but I've just been blessed this past 12 months learning about the zoning in the county of Oahu and the planning. But more importantly, some people say to us at the council, oh, we make about 10 to 12% on a project. Yeah, it's a lot of risk. But 10 to 12%, Mr. Cassidy, that's a huge amount of profitability also.
Yep.
So all I'm trying to get at is why in 6 years they could not sell or develop the property as an applicant and developer. Your thoughts?
My thoughts are that if they could have, they would have. Okay, before they got involved, a bank had me study the thing. And I look at it like you, very simple. See that if they sell it for this, they will be successful. I don't look at the cost, but I believe they know how to do it, okay? So, and back to some of the other questions, Radiant was asking about, parking and calibrating that and all this stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a great location. The actual product is extremely desirable, demanded, and should do well. But Hawaii has its own things. Okay, if you find bones, you're in trouble, et cetera, et cetera. You are going out on a limb. In my lifetime, Calvin, and I started a long time ago in affordable housing when we had, Castleton built a house, same house for the affordable guys, same house for the market guys. There was ways of doing things, okay? We've gotten smarter, but more complex. Our regulations are hard to go through. But here's my point. More and more people are coming to us, especially in affordable housing, that have new and smarter and better ideas. We also got the technology changing so that you actually can build a building that's net energy positive. But if you don't start, if you don't go, look at HPHA. The guy wanted to know what color paint the buildings would be and blew up the whole team, of which I was on. And I regret that, being my family's from Kalihi, and et cetera. This is a process. You're engaging, Radiant, you're asking good questions. The same thing. It's a process. You got to engage and find out it's just enough pain for everybody to go forward. I think the Local 5, I'm stoked to see those guys. These guys also went to the Carpenters Union. They're building our middle class while we're building our kids' a future.
Okay, Rick. I'm in the same category like you because we're all looking towards the future for the greater good. And that's where I'm trying to figure it out myself. What is a greater good sometimes when we adopt these type of projects that it doesn't break ground. And then you ask for another 3 years, that's 9 years. Then I get the concern that maybe they're flipping it. I'm not happy with the department, just rubber stamping, yep, give them three more years. Are you looking out for the interest of the general public at large? Okay, thank you very much, Rick, and thank you for your friendship all these years.
Thank you too, because boy, we've had some fun.
Yeah.
Starting with Jimmy Wong.
Yes. Okay, let's proceed on to, Tyler, you have no. Anybody else for Mr. Cassidy? No questions? Okay. Mr. Pana Megatoga. Pani?
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee. Pane Metong III for Operating Engineers Industry Stabilization Fund. I'm just here to support Resolution 23272 and the CD1. Interestingly enough, my first year as a lobbyist was in 2017, and I did support this project in 2017. And the one thing I've been hearing today is things have changed. A lot of changes have happened. The councils has changed, economic situations have changed, positions have changed from different stakeholders. And I just want to say that we support this. And moving forward, I believe the council also supports this, but there have been changes. And in regards to the 95-day extension, I believe that is a safe change in moving forward so that issues can be addressed, concerns can be addressed. We really appreciate council taking this position to move forward with a 95-day extension. We would like more, of course, but I understand the situation you folks are in, that because of the changes that we have to proceed cautiously. We understand that. Thank you.
Mr. Miyatoga, any questions for the testifier? I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
And I don't want to put you in a very awkward position, but if you were the developer and the applicant, wouldn't you feel bad coming here for another 3 more years after 6 years? I thought once you get the approval in 2017, the financing should already be in place.
Mm-hmm. Understood, and I can't speak for the developer, but if I was, you're asking me to speculate if I was in their shoes. Having financing in place is a fickle thing, and in my work with affordable housing companies that use LIHTC, and if I'm not mistaken, in 2017, I believe at the time council was changing some of their affordable housing so that basically it almost forced everyone to go through the 201H process, if I'm not mistaken, but that was a while back. But having your finances in place and your funding in place, it changes with economic situation. It changes with inflation, changes with interest rates. Having that set in a specific situation is how everything is penciled out, right? You create a plan based on certain circumstances, and you see if it pencils. And if it does, then that's it. The risk is that when those circumstances change, right, then all of a sudden your financial plan doesn't make any sense. And so being versatile to have a range, I guess, is sometimes what I've seen a lot of financiers do. But with COVID or whatever that happened that blew up the whole economy, those go out the window. Now, with that said, there were some projects that still were able to move forward during that time. So I'm not privy to how finances were calculated during those projects, but keeping their feet to the fire, I think, Chair, in moving forward. Now with this new council, with this new committee, I think will be key to making sure that the finances in place, two, that the things that you folks are looking for from the developer are met, those needs, whether that be community benefits, increase in affordable housing components, and just making sure that they don't sell it or that they actually do the project. I think from what I've heard, that is your concern. So I think moving forward with these extensions gives the time for you folks to talk, negotiate, and come out with something that is a win-win for the public, for the developer, for people who need housing.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Miyatoga? At least you're a very fair developer if you were a developer, applicant, Mr. Miyatoga. But I appreciate what you folks are doing, and I can see that there's a lot of testimony from our trades and strong support. But in the end, we're just looking out for the greater good of our community also. Right. Is 74, 77 affordable units enough out of the 444 units? Yeah, it's a condo tail.
Is that a question for me?
Yeah.
Anything helps with our affordable housing situation. I think anything helps. If you can push for more, and see if that works.
And thank you very much for your support of the chair's position on 95-day extension.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other, Chief Clerk? Okay, is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify? Please come forward to the testifier's podium and state your name for the record. If not, okay. Maybe I'm going to call Director of Department of Planning and Permitting for discussion now. Director? are you in support of giving the developer the opportunity now to allow hotels in a designation that does not have zoning as a hotel? If you want to state for the record, or if not, that's okay. You don't have to. But my point is that I was not here when they changed it. All of us were not here when they changed it. From a hotel zoning to no hotel zoning. But this project is a condo hotel. Okay, and that's one of the issues I have before myself in trying to determine it. But historically, that's how far I'm trying to go back to learn about this particular project. It takes 2 to 3 years to get your plans and design before you come before the council. So you had it all planned maybe for a decade as far as having this particular project. All I'm saying to you, Director, is do you folks do the research also? Now, because it's an entitlement. It's an entitlement of a hotel zone, which is condominium today. And I did not change it. All 5 of us were not here to change it. Our predecessors changed it. So that's where I'm taking a position. Go back to the drawing board. This is all condos. Go back to the drawing board and figure it out. What would you like to see? So for the affordable projects, they're going to come before us for the 201H. What is their contribution to the community benefit package? Yeah, 44 units, but who's paying for it? That's the kind of questions. And I'm not going to ask you to respond, but I am just very much concerned and worried that will it ever happen? I really don't know. But I mean, you got the message how I feel, how maybe the zoning committee may feel, but it's tough. And that's where I'm happy we're having this discussion, Councilmember Wire, because you're the freshman now of this class. And Tyler, right? You've got 3 more years. Pass it out 3 years and see. You got to hold their feet to the fire like the others, like Esther and Radiant and I. But my point is that we're having this discussion and educating you on approvals that were not within our jurisdiction in that period in time. And for Director, I just wanted to share my frustrations, that's all. But thank you. Okay, Mr. Sato, I have some questions for you also. Mr. Sato, would you like to respond to some questions? There's nobody else to testify. I just called everyone. Is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify? Please come forward to the testifier's podium and state your name for the record. No one else came up, so now it's open up to questions. So being the applicant's representative, how did you folks arrive at 150 days?
So 150 days would take us to the May zoning and May full council hearing. So the extension would go to late May. We arrived at that was a few things. One was we looked at the holiday season and we looked at our staff and our architects to see what it would take to pull together project modifications to submit to DPP for their review. We also spoke to DPP and looked at some of DPP's past reviews. And we just wanted to make sure that DPP and the council had adequate time to review the modifications there. If DPP's done early, then we're happy to come to an earlier zoning meeting and full council meeting. We just wanted to make sure that everyone was covered there with the holiday season and with new changes to the project.
Okay, I can't agree with you on that one. Just because it's the holiday season that we don't work. I think we all work, right? And any other questions for the applicant? Okay, Councilmember Cordero.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Sato. Thank you for being here. I know that we heard relating to what type of funding the EAH or the affordable housing component will need, but what other contributions will the developer be giving besides the land for the affordable housing component?
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Cordero. So they fit this affordable housing 78 units above that. So they're reinforcing the columns and they're paying for that design as well as the construction of that, as well as the design for the affordable housing portion as well, which is substantial.
Okay, so you're stating that no funding, whether it be city, LIHTC, or 201H, will be used for that part of the affordable housing.
That was my understanding, yeah, for that part.
Okay, and in addition to that, in what way is the developer going to support EAH in receiving more funding to ensure that they develop?
Yeah, so the developer has a draft agreement with EAH. I think Kevin mentioned it, and it's a lengthy agreement that ties the project together. And there's within the original resolution as well, there is conditioned to ensure that the affordable housing projects get built. So I believe the original resolution has a condition that says they need to get a building permit on the EAH project before they can get certificate of occupancy. So the developer will be working with EAH, going hand in hand through the process, and they'll support them as needed.
Okay, and do any agreements, including with EAH or any other entities that the developer has moving forward, will that stay with the land if the land or the project is sold to another developer?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not too sure in the legality or that specific question.
Okay, and I know that during the few meetings that we've had relating to this project, I've asked about community engagement, and the last engagement was when the project was approved back in 2017. And of course, as Mr. Mayatonga mentioned about how the tune of the council has been about what has changed, I guess, not just on the council, but just what society wants now. But have you heard any changes when the new or current engagement has, I guess, started up again?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we originally went out to the neighborhood board and the community for the original project back in the 2016-2017 timeframe. With the extension, we went back to the Ala Moana Kakako neighborhood board in August, and we presented the project. The board over there has changed somewhat as well, so we wanted to give them an update on the latest information on the project. And I know you asked Kevin about their support, and they're strong supporters of the affordable housing, for sure, the kupuna housing there. On the project itself, they had various concerns regarding infrastructure, traffic. They didn't take a vote or they didn't take a stance on the project at that time. But of course, they were strongly supportive of the affordable housing there.
Okay, thank you. Of course, we talked about the height limits and the limitations relating to the affordable housing component. But what if we flip the project and then just have the affordable housing component where the condo hotel is, and the condo hotel can be limited in height and space?
It's extremely challenging. I think we've heard from some of the other testifiers to develop in Hawaii in general, especially with the economics and coming off COVID. The project itself needs to be financially feasible for the developer. And in general, affordable housing projects lose money. And they don't just not make money, they lose a significant amount of money. That's why we see a lot of, at least for us, we see a lot of 201H projects or request exemptions. We see a lot of projects that seek LIHTC or other state funding or city funding there. So with a flip in the program, our project wouldn't be feasible there with a complete swap.
I guess is that going to be how it is to just get some affordable housing moving in the future? Because I mean, we talked about how much we need affordable housing, and if these things don't pencil out, like how can we just like have full projects that are affordable housing only? So I know it's frustrating, but I mean, it's that or just get rid of the parking. I like to talk about parking. I know it sounds funny a lot, but like we're in the TOD area, like we're literally across. We should not be requiring any parking for any part of the project.
Project modification, we would be looking at opportunities to increase the amount of affordable housing, potentially converting some of the parking structure stalls into residential units. One thing that is challenging with converting parking to floor area is that parking doesn't have a floor area or doesn't count as floor area, but units, commercial or residential, always count as floor area. So we need to make sure that we can convert while complying with the zoning codes in place.
Okay, thank you. And going back to the going back to community engagement, you know, I do think that that the developer or you will have to continue to go to the neighborhood board and like express the discussions that we've had in the council, but also really take their concerns, or if they had any, into consideration as well. And we would like to know them, know those as well from the neighborhood boards, although they were in support of the affordable housing component. So yeah, would like to hear about that moving forward too. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you. I just want to slightly add to what Councilmember Cordero was talking about. She said flip it. So, all right. So, and you expressed how it wouldn't pencil out. What about if you modify the project to be for market residences with a portion, of course, to be for affordable housing? I mean, you do that all the time, right? You guys come, most of the development coming here is for that. In this case, I think what's happening is the chair is expressing concern over the need for an additional hotel in that area or a condotel. So what is your position on that, whether the project could be modified to have for market and affordable housing projects like the majority of projects that are actually coming to the city council, especially 201H?
Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. We are currently hoping to keep our condo hotel design. The developer is here and they can help to discuss that further. But you know, we have been in talks with Chair Say and the rest of the committee, and we do feel that the condo hotel is the appropriate design for this location, this building. But we'll take that back to the developer to look into further.
Councilmember DeSantis-Tan.
Thank you, Chair. To build upon Vice Chair Kiaina's question, you know, I guess going back to the basics, the idea of a condo hotel is that people buy the individual units and put it back into a hotel pool so that, you know, short-term visitors end up staying there. They end up being serviced, hopefully, by you know, our hotel workers, and the sheets get changed and all of that. So with a project like this, what percentage do you estimate of those units are operated as if there's a hotel versus how many units are kind of permanently occupied by somebody living there? Do you have kind of a range for this type of product?
We don't have a range right now, but I do know.
Would you say that the majority of the units would function as if it were a hotel? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, to what extent are there permanent residents in the large tower?
David Tanoy. I'm also with Armtowel, one of the planning consultants for this firm. And just going back and looking at other condo hotels from my experience, using like the Trump International, which is a condo hotel in Waikiki, it's the vast majority is used for as a hotel unit, way over 80%. That I know. Okay. Yeah.
So, you know, I guess what I'm hearing is we should sort of conceive of this tower as mostly hotel use, and kind of the impacts that it has on the community would be as if it were a hotel, versus looking at it as if the impacts to the surrounding community are, you know, the typical sort of resident that goes to work and needs to park their car, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, from my experience and my understanding, yes, it'll be operated primarily as a hotel. Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Santos Sam, have you answered your question? Thank you very much, Mr. Tanoy. Any questions for Mr. Tanoy? Okay, if there is no further discussion.
Thank you.
Any questions for Director?
Yeah.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I do have a question for DPP with regard to the 95-day extension in proposed condition E. It talks about a 95-day period in which the applicant will submit to DPP for review and recommendation a proposal for project modifications, et cetera, et cetera. And then in condition F, proposed condition F, they have 95 days to obtain a building permit. And if not, they can come back before the council for further extension of time to obtain a building permit. Director, given sort of all the hearings that we've had about the challenges of getting a building permit, is 95 days a reasonable amount of time to add to your workflow?
95 days, yeah, I mean, I think that's challenging to get a building permit at that point. But I think it's also challenging for us to review the extension, et cetera, and to take into consideration all that's been discussed here is within 95 days as well.
What's the minimum, in your estimation, what's the minimum amount of time that it would take to do a thorough, thoughtful review on an extension of time and come up with recommendations for the council? Obviously, it can't be forever. But if 95 days is too short, what's a reasonable minimum amount of time?
I think 150 days as suggested by the developer, and that we have a certain date within at which they will provide their submittal to us early on, that would be preferred.
Okay, any further questions for the director?
Thank you. Hi, Director Puna. I was just wondering, in your analysis relating to demonstrated progress, it mentioned that, you know, DPP states that the applicant has satisfied the conditions of the previous extension by submitting updated plans in compliance with condition 2 of the SDP and submitting a draft affordable housing agreement. And then before that, it says that it further refined the design of the project beyond its conceptual renderings and coordinating with partners to deliver the affordable housing required by the resolution. Does that mean that such designs and amendments are different from what was approved in 2017?
I'm sorry, are you speaking to the last extension?
This was, no.
It's the current.
Current, yep.
So I can you repeat the question as far as I understand the passage that you read? But
right. So I was wondering, from what was approved back in 2017, are the conceptual renderings and further refining of the project different than what was approved in 2017? Alter the project in any way?
From so in 2017, what was proposed versus what is being proposed now?
Because it stated when they demonstrated progress, was it just refining the plans or did it change any part of the project?
I believe it was refining plans, but I'll defer to Liz on the specifics.
Good morning, Chair and committee members. I'm Elizabeth Krieger. I'm the Land Use Permits Division Chief. In 2017, there were conditions of approval that did require some design elements. And when they came in for the extension of time in 2021, I think that there was the same kind of discussion that we're having now, and they were told that we'll grant this extension on the condition that you provide these design elements. So I believe that the changed or the updated renderings were directly related to the conditions of approval from 2017 that they had not yet completed by the time that they were, I guess it was 2020 when they were asking for that first extension. So the pressure at that time was, you have to do this. So what we were trying to express in the extension now is that they at least did that minimum based on the other extension of time.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay,
Thank
any
you.
questions for the department? Go right ahead, Councilmember.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I wanted to follow up on some themes that came up in the discussion with Mr. Sato. First of all, Director, I guess, you know, we've approved a number of conditions in the resolution from 2017, 2021, and the one before us today. And there's always this question of if this parcel were to be sold to some other owner, whether those conditions would follow. Is that indeed the case? If it were to be sold to somebody else, would that other buyer have to comply with everything we've approved?
I believe they do, yeah. Yes, I think it runs with the land.
Okay, great. That's good to hear. And then we've had a discussion about whether we should require the developer to add additional affordable housing units. Mr. Sato replied that if that's potentially feasible, but it would increase the floor area ratio calculations. I understand that the underlying tower, as approved right now, is at 9 point something. The maximum's 10.0. If they were to add additional units that gets them over the 10.0 limit, is that something that the department is able to recommend, given that it wouldn't then comply with the Ala Moana TOD plan?
No, we would be limited by the 10 FAR.
So there is some limit to the amount of additional housing units that we can do based on the floor area ratio of the entire structure.
Yes.
Okay, so that's something we should be mindful of. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you, Director Puna. To make sure that we stay within the floor area ratio, we can reduce the amount of units in the condo hotel, right?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions for the director? If not, let's proceed on, members. We are in discussion. I'll go and ask each of the colleagues of mine, Councilmember DeSantos Tam.
Thank you.
Yeah, go right ahead. But let me start off first that I'm trying to determine 95 days, which is the original draft, versus 150. I just wanted to get the pulse of the zoning committee members, because the chair like to recommend that let's go in between. 120 days. So your thoughts first, okay?
Thank you, Chair. I asked the question of the director just because I know and I feel a bit sorry for the director because we constantly are dragging her here, complaining about delays and time, and I don't want to add more, a compressed time schedule that adds to the burden of the department. And that's why, I think that it has to be longer than 95 days. Obviously, it can't be forever. I'm comfortable with 120 days if that's a recommendation. I am also mindful, though, that puts us kind of square in the middle of budget. So I'm looking at the budget, Chair.
That's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Councilmember Cordero, your thoughts of the 120 days as a amendment?
I would prefer the 95, but I will support your recommendation.
Thank you. And for Councilmember Wire?
I just first wanted to say mahalo to you for holding everyone's feet to the fire, because I think that that's why we arrived at where we're at today. And I do think, from the conversations that have been happening, it's clear that there's been movement in the right direction on the project. And so in that sense, I'm completely fine with 150 because I do trust Mr. Sato when he says he'll come to us sooner if it's done sooner. But with the 120, yeah, I mean, I'm completely comfortable with that, and I would support that because I do think, there's, at this point for me, no reason to oppose additional time.
Okay. Councilmember Kiaina, your thoughts of 120 days as a compromise between 95 and 150?
Chair, can I ask, is it just to shorten the time? Why 120? So it's, we're shortening it by 30 days.
My original draft was for 95
Yes, I know that.
Okay, they are coming out to say they want 150.
Okay.
5 months. So I'm saying, I'll meet you folks in between, 120. And puts the onus back on the applicant
Which
and
is fine.
DPP. Director Alpuno? Yes.
For DPP, we would need at least 120 days to review. So however long it takes them to submit, we would need that much time to review and process.
Okay. Well, I'm happy we're having this discussion. Now you can see how long it takes with DPP. And this was filed in September now with DPP. This draft. And that's why we're having this discussion. So at this point in time, if I do support city and county employees, oh, why don't we do it this way? Let's, with your indulgence, why don't you give me the opportunity of going 120 days? I'll put the onus back on the Department of Planning and Permitting. If there's nothing major, they'll probably just have to submit the same recommendation that they did. That whatever they come up with a plan, modifications, etc., they can take a look at it. But it is going to be within the footprint of the project itself, correct? And what we're looking at is the FAR, if they can, increase the affordables, and that's it. So can we go with the 120 days? Okay. Okay, at this point in time, then the chair would like to recommend that we amend it further by saying for the record that we amend the last whereas clause to provide that the council desires to approve a 120-day extension of time. And 2, amend the be it resolved clause to provide that resolution 17-221, committee draft 1 as amended by resolution 20-170, committee draft 1, is further amended to extend the deadline to obtain a building permit for the project by 120 days to April 24th, 2024, provided that prior to April 24th of 2024, with ample time to be processed by DPP, considered by the zoning committee at its meeting on April 3rd of 2024, and adopted by the council at its meeting on April 17, 2024. The applicant shall submit to DPP for review, recommendation, and a draft resolution. It may be a project modification proposal that is to benefit the community, together with a request for the further extension of deadline to obtain a building permit for the project to implement the proposal. So you're granting the applicant 120 days and DPP to come up with another resolution that when they have it done, whatever it may be as far as the plan, conceptually, that the next resolution will probably be an extension of a 3-year extension, if this council zoning committee so desires. So basically, I'm asking the council committee, zoning committee members to put their feet to the fire and see what they can do within the next 120 days. And that's all it is. Yes, Madam Chair. Yeah, I did. Okay, I apologize. I would have to say this once more to repeat. The chair recommends that resolution 23-272 be amended to the posted CD1 and further amended, yes, as we discussed, to amend the whereas clause to provide that the council desires to approve a 120-day extension of time, and amend it to be resolved clause to provide that resolution 17-221, committee draft 1 as amended by resolution 2023-170, CD1, Committee Draft 1, is further amended to extend the deadline to obtain a building permit for the project by 120 days to April 24th of 2024, provided that prior to April 24th, 2024, with ample time to be processed by DPP, considered by the zoning committee at its meeting on April 3rd of 2024, and adopted by the council on its meeting on April 17th, the applicant shall submit to DPP for review, recommendation, and a draft resolution, a project modification proposal that is benefit to the community, together with a request for a further extension of the deadline to obtain a building permit for the project to implement the proposal. I think that's a very fair compromise as far as what we're dealing with right now at this point in time. But for those who are here from the beginning, you can see from, I would say not 6 years ago, but maybe 7, 8 years ago, if you had to do your plans and design, Councilmember Wire, that you had to go out to the community for outreach, that it came before this council previously, not our group, but our predecessors in 2017. The applicant may think that we're trying to rehash things, but I think personally, we are all learning the processes that we have to go through, what the department has to go through too. So at this time, are there any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a committee draft 1. And then the chair then recommends that resolution 23-272, committee draft 1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much for your patience. Sorry, some of you had to go with the chair's recommendation. Okay, let's move on to agenda number. Oh, I have to also recognize Councilmember Val Okimoto. Okay, resolution 23-244. This resolution would approve an application for a plan review use permit to allow for the implementation of the 2019 master plan for the University of Hawaii at Manoa campus, which is comprised of approximately 307.67 acres of land zone R5 residential, R-7.5 residential, P1 restricted preservation, and P2 general provision district located at 2500 Campus Road in Manoa, and identified as tax map keys listed in the resolution. Members, we have posted to the agenda the committee draft 1 that was approved by the committee at its meeting on October 18th of 2023. A public hearing on the resolution and the proposed committee draft 1 was held at the council meeting on November 1st of 2023, and the measure was referred back to the committee for further discussion. Joining us in the council chamber, we have Keola Chang, the applicant's agent, and Jan Govea from the University of Hawaii to provide comments and answer questions. Is Mr. Chang here?
Aloha mai kako. Keola Chang is not here. I'm Dalton Beaupre. I'm a planner at Wilson Okamoto. I'm here on his behalf. And we also have Ross Richards from UH.
Okay. Hello, Chair Say. Hello, committee members. Jan Govea is in the back, but I'm going to speak today in support of the resolution. So I'm Ross Richards. I'm the Associate Director for the Office of Project Delivery at the University of Hawaii at Manoa. And we're here in support of Resolution 23-244, CD1, which requests the approval of the PRU, or Plan Review Use Permit for the University of Hawaii at Manoa. Currently, the university is operating under the 2009 PRU, and it's set to expire in March 31st of 2024. So if this PRU is not approved, we would continue operating under the 2009 PRU, which would require us to get more modifications to the PRU as we approach and start delivering our new projects. Secondly, the DPP director has reviewed the permit application and has provided her report, which provides a more detailed description of the application. She provided recommended modifications, and the university does not object to the report or her modifications. And lastly, we did meet with the testifiers who are against the bill, the resolution. We met with Mr. Miatonga, who I believe has left. It was great. I believe we just needed to exchange contact names and numbers, and he was satisfied with that. We also met with PRP, Chris Delaney, Carpenters Union, Nate Kinney, Ron Takeda, and Kyle Chalk. We met them in person. We discussed a lot of labor work, a lot of projects along the university, as well as outside of the public. We did talk about prevailing wages, apprenticeship programs, and I guess, just doing work in Hawaii. And they were okay with our meeting. We did talk about labor agreements, which we did not, extend too far out, but we did talk about it. And I thought the meeting went well, but I know you folks had reservations, Council Member Wire and Kiaina, on the first zoning committee meeting. So we did take that apart and we did meet with them. We did submit a slideshow or a PowerPoint presentation that you have seen already at the previous zoning committee. So I'm not sure if you want to go over it. We can. But I believe we have your support. I believe we have the director's support. And I believe we did address the people who are against our resolution. So I'd like to think we addressed all issues.
Okay, members, any questions for the testifier? Council Member Kiaina, please.
Thank you. Nice to see you today.
Oh.
I want to make clear I was not opposed to this resolution.
No, I know you weren't.
Okay.
I said that you had a reservation at the last committee.
Okay, yes.
So that we go in.
But I would like to reiterate some of the concerns that I raised. You know that we all would want to be rooting for you. You know that, right?
Yes.
So I would like to point out to my colleagues on page 6 of the October 18th, 2023 slide presentation, I did raise concerns during our one-on-one meeting with the LRDP guiding principles, because when you refer to Native Hawaiians, the title says leverage unique attributes of place. And I still have a problem with that. So I actually asked my staff this morning if you modified your slide presentation, and I'm assuming you can't, because you can't do that by yourselves. This is the principles that went through a vetting process. But if you could tell your higher-ups, I'm completely underwhelmed by the manner of how Native Hawaiians are considered here. Are we attributes of a place?
No.
And I also said that this is not about just honoring our ancestral knowledge systems. I believe in planning. There are so many firms, architectural firms, and developers who take into account Native Hawaiian culture and values, and they weave it into the manner of how they plan. And I hope you do that, because I don't know what you guys were thinking when you guys created that. That's all. And don't think of us as just knowledge systems. We are here. I'm here right in front of you.
Yes.
And so you look at the place of where you're located, and you look at all that you can garner from the Native Hawaiian people, and you reflect that in your planning processes, correct?
Yes, we will.
And then I understand that, you have various categories. And so I know that you name your buildings after people who give a lot of money. But you could also name buildings on places. You can have Hawaiian names. And all of the names in category 2 of your demolition, there's not a single Native Hawaiian building. I don't consider the Center for Hawaiian Studies that you guys say, oh, that's taking care of the Native Hawaiian community. I mean, you guys are all over Hawaii, and that's all I'm just saying is good luck with your plan. But we are not attributes of Hawaii.
Yes, understood.
Yeah.
We hear you loudly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the university as the applicant? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your outreach to the community in Manoa.
Thank you.
You're very
Thank you,
welcome.
Chair. Thank you, members.
Okay, Director Donna Puna.
Thank you, Chair. We are supportive of the proposed CD1, and we're here for any questions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for the director? Councilwoman Okimoto, do you understand what PRU stands? Huh? Okay, Director Apuna, would you like to share with us what is the plan review use? Is it a county ordinance? Is it a state ordinance? Is it PRU?
PRU is a county regulated tool. But
okay.
I have Liz here if you want
okay.
to hear
Liz,
more
please,
details
please
about the process.
just educate the members of what PRU, the general public out there is crying out. What is PRU?
Sure. Elizabeth Krieger, DPP. So the plan review use is a permit that is processed and a recommendation is sent from the Department of Planning and Permitting to the City Council. It is specifically designed for uses that are very unusual, like hospitals, golf courses, universities, that type of thing, where development standards that may just affect the underlying district don't necessarily apply in the appropriate way. So a plan review use allows the City Council to modify and set all of those development standards for that site, so the site becomes regulated by the approved resolution, and it is associated with a master plan. So the applicant, in this case, the University of Hawaii, comes up with a master plan that's supposed to guide the development in the long run, and then the resolution sets parameters. Hopefully, well, in this case, specifically, the parameters are related to their 2019 long-range development plan that the university adopted.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Liz at this point in time? I just had one question maybe for the university. Do you folks communicate with the Board of Regents as employees of the university?
When you say few folks, you talking about me personally?
You and the other young man? Yes.
Yes, I do attend some of the Regents meetings, but John Govia is at every single Board of Regent meeting.
Okay. The question I pose is like what Ms. Kruger stated for the record. It is a long-range plan.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about, having the discussion with the state legislature about acquiring Lower Campus where all the apartments and condos are in the expansion of the athletic facility? For me, I think it's going to take a decade before we get the new stadium.
I agree.
You agree? But no one has that long-term vision that I think athletics plays a big part of the university system, that you're landlocked. And I just bring this up because I am concerned about the quality of our athletic department at this time, not being critical about the services, what you folks do for the athletes, but more importantly, long range, because you folks are not taking care of Les Murakami Stadium, all of this that's happening. And the point is that football was always the generator for revenues for the athletic department. So I'm just bringing this up because I'm looking down the road. I won't probably be alive to experience a new stadium, but there's been criticism, about the stadium that we have today. And it is an issue that I just wanted you folks to be aware of as far as council members say. That's all, but long term.
Okay, we appreciate that. Thank you.
And then the other one, faculty housing. Why don't you guys acquire St. Francis School? or who bought the property at St. Francis? I don't know.
I know you asked that at the previous zoning committee. I don't have the response. I don't know if Jan has any further information on that purchase.
Hi, good morning. Jan Govea, Vice President for Administration at the University of Hawaii. I don't actually know the official name of the buyer of St. Francis, but my understanding is the transaction is still in escrow, and so it hasn't closed. We did put in a bid for it, but we were not successful.
Okay. It's just that for us at the council, and being the councilman from that district, that's a concern I have, that if it was a public facility, it would work out much more better than a private development that not you per se, but the new owner would probably have to address.
We share your concern.
Okay. Well, anything else for Ms. Govea? Well, go get on Thursday, yeah? So they make it to Friday. Oh, Saturday? The finals with Oregon? Huh? Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the applicants? If not, Director Apuna, you already stated yes for the record. Okay. Is there any, Madam Clerk, any remote testimony?
Chair, there are none.
Great. Okay. How about now we proceed with in-person testimony?
Chair, there are none.
Oh, we see Ms. Angela Young. Please, Angela.
Aloha, Chair and City Council. Angela Melody Young, testifying on behalf of CARES, a grassroots startup. So the long-range development plan of the University of Hawaii Manoa campus was prepared by G70 International Incorporated, an architectural design firm. G70 has worked with various commercial designs, churches, schools, such as the Central Union Church Preschool and Kamehameha Schools, to deliver designs built within the environmental impact standards while preserving cultural resources. The UH plan was adopted by the University Board of Regents. Its purpose is to update the plan, which was originally adopted in 1987, to reflect current and upcoming educational priorities. Future buildings and projects that are on the capital improvement program or are anticipated for development within the next 5 to 10 years are projected into the plan. Proposed buildings and projects are as follows: Kennedy Theater expansion, parking structure at the Kennedy Theater, instruction building at the Henke Hall site, campus center expansion to the northeast, law school expansion, the School of Education, the media facilities, School of Hawaiian Knowledge, and transitional space building. So because this resolution supports the education of the students of Hawaii, I'm in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your concise support. Okay. Is there anyone else here in the audience that would like to testify? Please come forward to the testifier's podium and state your name for the record. Okay, there are none. Members, we are in discussion. Councilmember Wire.
Thank you, Chair. And I just wanted to say mahalo to the applicant for doing due diligence and outreach in the community and with folks that are stakeholders, because similar to Vice Chair, didn't necessarily have any opposition to, the PRU itself, but just understanding, as so many folks say, we can disagree, but don't need to be disagreeable. And so just mahalo for that, being able to sit down and have those conversations, because I think even the last item on the agenda shows us how important those are. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Okimoto? No? Okay. Anyone else? If not, the chair would like to recommend that Resolution 23-244, Committee Draft 1, which was previously approved by the committee at its meeting on October 18 of 2023, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. It's been adopted. Moving on to agenda number 6, Resolution 23-252. This resolution grants a special management area major permit to the Pu'uali'i Community Association to allow for the implementation of a 54,886 square foot slope stabilization project on 359,000 of 20 359,021 square feet of land, Zone R10 Residential District located at 4640, 4650, and 4670 Kokani Place in Heia and identified as portions of tax map key 4-6-001:002, comma, 060, comma, and 062. 060 and 062. Members, we have posted to the agenda two proposed committee draft versions of the resolution, one submitted by Councilmember Kiana and the other that I submitted. For your information, a summary of the amendments to each of the proposed committee draft ones are listed on the agenda. We have also distributed a proposed hand-carried committee draft one version of the resolution submitted by Councilmember Kiana at OCS 2023-1070/11/27/2023 at 11:30 a.m. At this time, I'll defer to Councilmember Kiana to explain the amendments in her hand-carried committee draft one.
Thank you, Chair. In response to a plethora of concerns raised by nearby residents over the last 2 years regarding this project's removal of large mature trees on the slope and at the bottom of Lilipuna Road, as you know, I have proposed an initial CD, OCS 2023-1048, to require the applicant to attempt to find and plant larger street trees along Lilipuna Road and share their efforts to find larger street trees with DPP, and clarify the as-planted landscape plan is for the project site only. I understand, Chair Say, that your proposed CD, OCS 2023-1062, substantively would do the same thing, so I support your version as well. I do have a hand-carried proposed CD, OCS 2023-1070, which is identical to Chair Say's version, with 2 additional adjustments per the applicant's request. Firstly, it would clarify in condition D3 that the DPP required as-planted landscape plan requires general identification of underplanting zones as opposed to requiring an identification of every single understory plant or ground cover planted. And secondly, it would clarify in condition D3 that the applicant only needs to share their efforts to find the larger street trees if they are unsuccessful at finding the larger trees. And I respectfully ask that this CD be the moving vehicle. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, at this point in time, joining us in the council chamber, yes? Oh, I'm sorry. So, Councilmember Kiana, the chair will withdraw his CD and incorporate your final hand-carried draft.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Joining us in this council chamber, we have McKenna White from Planning Solutions, Inc., the applicant's agent, to give a brief presentation of the project. For your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 615 of 2023. Please, Mike.
Thank you, Chair, members of the council, and members of the public. My name is McKenna White. I'm a planner with Planning Solutions, and I'm here to present the Konane Slope Stabilization Project. The purpose of this presentation is essentially to provide some basic information and about the project and also the application in support of it. So to bring everybody up to speed, this is a revised Ordinances of Honolulu Chapter 25 review of the Konane Slope Stabilization Project. Individual letters were sent to interested agencies, organizations, and individuals on February 25th, 2022. A draft environmental assessment became available on November 23rd, 2022, starting a 30-day comment period. A final environmental assessment and finding of no significant impacts was published on June 8th, 2023, and it is available for download at the ERP website. The city held a public hearing regarding the Special Management Area Permit application on August 23rd, 2023, and the City Council is now considering the Special Management Area Permit application. The purpose of the project is to stabilize Konane Slope between the Pu'uali'i Community Association-owned Konane Place and the city-owned Lilipuna Road, and to minimize the risk of a potential slope failure. The project design is based on the recommendations of a geotechnical report and work will be done in a manner that provides for a shoulder and swale on Lilipuna Road to allow for better drainage, improved pedestrian and vehicular traffic safety on Lilipuna Road, and the planting of street trees per the city-approved master landscape plan. Regarding the need for the project, on January 11, 2019, the city reported to the PCA that it had received calls, 2018, that's a typo, had received calls that soil and sediment may have been discharged from the property. On November 30th of 2018, Department of Facility Maintenance investigated the report and determined that the evidence was inconclusive and issued a warning instead of a citation. On October 22nd, 2019, PCA responded to DFM's letter. They identified the measures it was taking to address the potential for discharges from its property, including having the property reviewed by geotechnical engineers. JPB's engineering geotechnical report identified these areas as unstable and prone to soil creep, which is a form of mass wasting. The project is designed to include both temporary runoff measures during construction as well as permanent stabilization and runoff protection measures, followed by installation of ground cover and vegetation along the slope and street trees along Lilipuna Road. Just to orient everyone, the project is located on Kaneohe Bay on Pohakea Point. The TMKs which are affected are shown in red here. Moving in a little bit closer, and sort of the reason we're all here is, as you can see, these TMKs are located within the pink crosshatched area, which indicates the city and county special management area. All development in the SMA requires an SMA permit. Projects valued at over $500,000 require preparation of an environmental assessment, which was published, as I said, on November 23rd, 2022. And the purpose of this presentation is to provide you with the basic information you folks need to make informed decisions. Moving further, I guess the first thing I'd like to point out is that the TMKs are on the Mauka side of Lilipuna Road, so they are not shoreline lots, and not the entire TMKs are affected. The area shown in the crosshatched yellow is the affected portion of the property, and it's this slope between Konane Place and Lilipuna Road. So to bring folks down to ground level, this is a progression of photographs showing views of Konane Slope moving from the south to the north out Pohakea Point, characterizing existing conditions as seen from Lilipuna Road and Konane Place. The bulging areas and the sort of uncorrected lean of certain trees are indicative of the soil creep that is of concern. An example is the tree in the center of photo C. Okay. Regarding the actual work, because the topography is slightly different in the different portions of the slope, it's been divided into a north and south zone. Starting with the south zone, the work shown here will involve grubbing and grading the slope, including all excavation and infill work. Then an American green erosion control matting will be put down, and using platypus percussive-driven earth anchors, it will be held in place. Then there'll be interim grassing, and then finally the master landscape plan will be implemented. On the north side, which is steeper, the process will be very similar. There'll be grubbing and grading. There'll be an American green erosion control matting. But over that will go a rock mesh system, which is affixed to the slope, with anchor plates, U-bolt soil nails, and mesh connectors. Then it will be followed by the interim grassing, and finally with the landscaping. Okay, the following 3 slides are a computer visualization of the slope after the project is complete. They've replaced the existing vegetation with native ground covers, Polynesian introduced canoe plants, and other appropriate plantings per the MLP. The understory is mostly tropical species with faster growing times to act as a visual buffer while the street trees mature. This first slide is shortly after installation, so approximately a year. The second slide is in an intermediate period where the plantings have begun to mature, perhaps around 5-year mark. And this depicts the vegetation and landscaping at maturity, perhaps 20 years on. I'd like to thank everybody for their time, and I'm happy to answer questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. White. Any questions for Mr. White? Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you. Thank you for, I know this has been a long coming project, and I know that, it's been challenging because, as you know, I've gotten a lot of complaints from the property owners, Makai of the road. And so I do believe that you guys have done what you can to move this SMA project forward. With regard to the 3 slides, could you give me, again, time duration on when you think, what is the maturation over the 3 slides? So the first slide would be when you initially plan.
This would be like approximately 1 year. Oh,
Okay. Okay, and then the second slide?
second slide, pardon me, would be approximately 5 years.
Okay.
And the third slide would be approximately 20 years.
And of course, based on the CD1 that we're moving forward today, you are going to do what you can to increase the plant size so we don't have to wait 20 years, correct?
That's correct, ma'am. Yes, with the caveat that they will try to get larger street trees to plant for at least 25% or more of that.
That would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay, because it would, because they're still your neighbors. So even if you're successful and this project moves forward, I just highly recommend that you do what you can to mitigate the concerns raised by your neighbors.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would like to say, if you could relay to your community association, I have also gotten complaints by neighbors that you have either tenants or visitors of tenants harassing family members of those who live across the street. And while I have told them that they should call the Honolulu Police Department, I think you guys should know that that is happening, and it is unacceptable for your association to allow that kind of behavior to be happening, especially when people are having parties and they're on their lanais and they see a family with their children across the street, and they can and they're making cat calls, okay, to the children. Unacceptable. And so I wish you guys well with this project, but I just want to make sure that you guys are good neighbors now and in the long run. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. White? If not, thank you very much. Okay, Director Apuna.
Thank you, Chair. The department is supportive of Councilmember Kia'aina's hand-carried proposed CD1. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the Director? Okay. Madam Clerk, are there any remote testimony?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. We will now proceed with in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you very much. Once more, is there anyone else in the council chamber who would like to testify? Please come forward to the testifier's podium and state your name for the record. Okay, I don't see any. Let's move on. Members, we are in discussion. Any discussion? Thank you very much, Mr. White. Okay, at this point in time, if there is no discussion, the chair would like to recommend that Resolution 23-252 be amended to the hand-carried Committee Draft 1 proposed by Councilmember Kia'aina. OCS 2023-1070/11/27/2023 at 11:30 a.m. Any discussion? Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a Committee Draft 1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 23-252, Committee Draft 1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Okay, let's move on, members, to agenda number 7, Resolution 23-264. This resolution grants once more a special management area major permit to Alex and Marilyn Rotman to allow for the construction of a new 2-story single-family dwelling and carport on an approximately 10,001 square foot zoning lot that has been subjected to a condominium property regime, Zone R5 Residential District, located at 67-429A Waialua Beach Road and identified as a portion of tax map key 6-7-013:015, Members, we have posted to the agenda a proposed committee draft version of the resolution, and for your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. At this point in time, joining us in the council chamber, we have Mr. Ryan Facer, the applicant's agent, to give a brief presentation on the project. And for your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 616 of 2023. Okay, Mr. Facer, Ryan.
Thank you, Councilmember Say. Honorable council members, thank you for your time. My name is Ryan Facer, and I'm representing the Reutemann family, who are the owners of this subject property that we'll be reviewing today for an SMA approval. If you can follow the slides on the screen, the site location is located in Waialua on the north shore of Oahu, currently surrounded by an existing neighborhood environment, as you can see here on this bird's eye photo of the neighborhood. As we zoom in a little bit closer to the property in discussion, this is a bird's eye view of the general association that is under recent development. The two homes closest to the ocean front have already been constructed. And you can see I've flagged in the middle of the photo there an SMA major approval that was granted by this group in February of this year. So we are just a stone's throw further Mauka of that property that was reviewed and approved earlier this year. As noted, there is a 10,000 square foot lot that has been CPR'd into two 5,000 square foot parcels. And the lot Makai is currently under construction, which you'll see in some of the subsequent photos. And the subject property is Mauka with the CPR Reutemann lot noted on the bottom of the photo. This is a TMK plan, again, just noting in red, highlight the completed residences. The previous aerial view photo was outdated in Google Maps. There's already been further development in the construction of the small community. So in red highlight, the completed residences, 2 is noted closest to the water. And then there is one in the middle of that row that is also completed, and then in purple there are 2 more under construction, and then in green highlight is the subject property, Mauka, which is the Reutemann residence. Just for views of seeing the subsequent photos, this is kind of the vantage point of the Reutemann lot and how we will scroll through A, B, C, and D of the photo vantage points for reference. So this is looking Mauka, southeast of the lot. You'll see that it's a relatively flat lot, vacant lot, nothing much more than some field grass coverage, other than a couple of cocos that are closest to Waialua Beach Road. And looking back, Makai northeast, you can see on the left-hand side of this photo, the residence currently under construction, which is their neighbor's residence. And again, in the foreground is the empty lot. Looking back across the way, Makai northwest, I'm looking over towards the established neighborhoods that already exist in that vicinity. And then again, looking Mauka southwest, off towards Waialua Beach Road. And again, just re-emphasizing the fact that it's a level grade empty lot for construction. And then some more photos of the established neighborhoods in the immediate vicinity. Since the lot is relatively vacant, the owners have been researching native plant life to introduce to the property. Lolulelo palms, nanu bush, Ilima ground cover, and a variety of others to kind of surround the 3 sides of the property around the proposed residence. And then just for reference, a couple of the home elevations, nothing massive. It's a modest single-family dwelling in an established residential neighborhood. And also included here for reference, we did approach the North Shore Neighborhood Board for their review and comment of the property. They had no comment and no issue with the proposed project. And then again, a snapshot of the cover sheet from DPP with their recommendation for SMA approval to the council members here, which you have as well in your records. And also included here at the end, within the subdivided community as shown here, a septic tank was also introduced already and approved by state of Hawaii. And that shows the location of the septic tank. On this plan, it shows the current home under construction, and then the septic tank and leach field is in the Reutemann parcel. And so that is already installed in the ground, as well as all other underground municipal utilities are intact and ready for new construction build. And with that, that's the conclusion of our brief presentation. We'll open up to any questions.
Okay, any questions? I'll defer to the council member from the district, Council Member Wire.
And thank you, Chair. I actually don't have any questions.
Great.
I do want to say mahalo for doing the concise but on-point presentation and for doing the community outreach and sharing that as well, and indicating, as he mentioned, the North Shore Neighborhood Board received no requests from anyone on the board to further review the project. Thank you.
Okay, Council Member Kiana, any questions for
Yes,
Mr.
thank you.
Facer? Yes.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your outreach with the neighborhood board. Given that this project will be developed in Jocus Sands, which I've known to contain iwi kupuna, has the applicant reached out to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, the Oahu Island Burial Council, known community members, and or members of the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission regarding this project?
Thanks, Councilmember Kia. And yes, we have reached out to SHPD. We are in conversation with them and archaeological firms to conduct an AIS survey on the site to make sure that there isn't anything. As noted, there have been a variety of recent adjacent properties that were reviewed without issue or concern. But because SHPD has requested this specifically for this property, we are going through those steps to contact and engage with an archaeological firm.
Okay, and I guess what I'm trying to tell you then is SHPD is a state agency. And so when they do that, I've just identified a list of folks that they would probably want to outreach to, okay? That's all.
Absolutely, yes, and we've been in contact with them to make sure that we're reaching out to approved
thank you.
entities. Thank you.
Any further questions for Mr. Facer? Councilwoman Okimoto? No? No questions? Okay. Thank you very much. Let's move on to Director Apuna.
Thank you, Chair. We are supportive of the proposed CD1. We do have some concerns about the reference to the Plant Pono website for high-risk plants, just because it could change. If there were some other list that is that could be referenced, whether it's like a list by a government agency like DLNR, I think that would be preferred. But we don't actually have one to offer, but we would like to just have that noted.
Okay,
thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the director at this point in time? No? If not, okay. We'll now proceed with remote testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now proceed with in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Great, thank you very much. Members, we are now in discussion. Councilmember Wire, is the resolution 23-264 okay with the residents of the North Shore?
As far as I can tell, I do believe the applicant's done their due diligence and is continuing to do that work, and so I fully support the resolution.
Okay. Any other concerns? If not, the chair would like to recommend that resolution 23-264 be amended to the posted committee draft 1. Are there any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a committee draft 1. The chair then recommends that resolution 23-264, committee draft 1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much, Mr. Facer. Moving on to agenda number 8, Resolution 23-273. This resolution grants a special management area major permit to Joseph and Cecilia Fatt to allow for the new construction of a 3-car garage and storage, porch, wheelchair ramp, fence, and concrete driveway and walkway as additions to an existing single-family detached dwelling on approximately 13,359 square feet of land zone R10 residential district located at 5225 Kalanianaole Highway and identified as TMK 3-6-002:039. Members, we have posted to the agenda a proposed committee draft 1 of the resolution, and for your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. Joining us in the council, we have Mr. Jim Hayes from Planning Solutions for the applicant as the applicant's agent to give a brief presentation on the project. For your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 619 of 2023. Okay, Mr. Hayes.
Thank you, Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. This project is in the Aina community along the shoreline, 5225 Kalanianaole Highway. A map here illustrating its location in the special management area shown in the pink highlights or pink hash. It is a shoreline parcel in the residential zone. And this aerial photograph shows the current condition of the parcel with a single-family residence that was recently constructed in, I think, 2021. That house was built from an SMA minor permit that was awarded just prior to that. This proposal currently is to build a garage. This is a eye-level photograph of the area on the Mauka side of the residence, and the proposed garage would be located where the 2 vehicles are shown. There was previously a garage in this area prior to the replacement of the single-family residence. And this project requires a special management area permit major because it is considered as part of a cumulative development of the single-family residence from 2021, and now the proposal for the garage. In addition to the garage, there'll be a ramp to get access from the garage to the front door of the house, so someone in a wheelchair can access the house. But that's pretty much the extent of the proposal. It's a simple development. We approached the Aina Kuli'o'o Neighborhood Board and gave them a presentation. They did not have any comments or questions. They were frankly surprised that we had to come to them about a garage, but no questions came up. This is a plan view of the project. The garage up in the northern portion, the Mauka portion of the lot. In the shoreline area, there's a hatching pattern that shows the extent of the shoreline setback. Obviously, the garage is well outside of that shoreline setback area and consistent with the residents in the area. Here is a elevation view showing the existing residence and then the garage being added to the existing residence, again on the Mauka side. The garage would be, the roof height will be lower than the existing residence. And that ends our presentation of this project.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hayes. Members, any questions for the applicant? No questions? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, Councilmember Quijano.
Thank you, Council Chair. Thank you for your presentation. I want to let you know, I know that it seems burdensome with regard to the neighborhood board, but what you don't know, what you would not want is a challenge because it didn't go to a neighborhood board. So former Councilmember Sumiyoshi and I introduced legislation doing that, and that's because what happens is when you don't notify them and there's pilikia regarding the project, then it's an inefficient use of all of our time. So the good news is the majority of the neighborhood boards are not having any problem with it. So I did want to ask a similar question to last project, given that the project is on Jacques sands, which have been known to contain iwi kupuna. I saw that, of course, you have the SHPD requirement, but has the applicant reached out to the Office of Hawaiian Affairs, the Oahu Island Burial Council, and or members of the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission regarding this project?
No, the project has not reached out to those individuals specifically. The project is located where there was a previously developed area, so it's been previously disturbed. There's an existing driveway and a previous garage of similar design. So this is essentially replacing that garage, and it's not anticipated that there will be new disturbance of the sand.
Got it. And so, and then of course, if there was, then you'd just go follow the proper protocols.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, the residence was recently built, and so they had similar conditions. And the owner is well aware of those requirements. He's lived on the property since the original house was built in the 40s. So they're knowledgeable and sensitive to the archaeological and burial concerns.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Hayes, thank you very much. Any further questions for Mr. Hayes? If not, thank you very much. Let's proceed on, members, that we have Director Apuna.
Thank you, Chair. We're supportive of the proposed CD1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, at this point in time, we will now proceed with remote testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. We will now proceed with in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Great. Members, we are in discussion. If there is no discussion, the Chair would like to recommend that Resolution 23-273 be amended to the posted Committee Draft 1. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a Committee Draft 1. The Chair then recommends that Resolution 23-273, Committee Draft 1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussion, objections, or reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you very much, Mr. Hayes. Okay. Last on the agenda, members, are Agenda number 9, Resolution 23-281. This resolution authorizes exemptions from certain requirements pursuant to the Hawaii Revised Statutes, Chapter 201H-38, relating to a proposal by Michael's Development to develop the Waipahu Street Affordable Rental Housing Project on approximately 37,000 square feet of land zoned AMX2, Medium Density Apartment Mixed Use District, within the Waipahu Transit-Oriented Development Special District, located at 94-069 Waipahu Street and identified as tax map key 9-4-047:025. Members, we have posted to the agenda a proposed Committee Draft 1 version of the resolution. For your information, a summary of the amendments is listed on the agenda. Joining us in the council chamber, we have Mr. Isaiah Sato from RM Towel Corporation, the applicant's agent, to give a brief description of the project. And for your information, the presentation is available online as Miscellaneous Communication 617 of 2023. Okay, Mr. Isaiah Sato.
Thank you, Councilmember Say.
I thought I saw you the other side.
Yeah, we switched sides to help with the presentation. Thank you, everyone, for having us here today to present on an exciting project in the Waipahu TOD. So first off, I wanted to start with saying that we do support the CD1, and we appreciate all the work that you and your staff have put together on that CD1. This first slide is our title sheet. So our project is Resolution 23-281, the Waipahu Street Affordable Rental Housing Project. The applicant, Michael's Development, is proposing to develop a 196-unit affordable rental housing building, a 15-story tower, and we went through the DPP 201H entitlement process. I wanted to briefly touch on some of our community meetings that we did with the project. So we started this process early this year, really at the beginning of the year, and we started going out to the community in April. We had 2 community meetings in the Waipahu area, 1 physical meeting at New Hope Leeward and 1 virtual meeting. And the client really went above and beyond having these 2 meetings. They also sent out a mailer to probably 1,000 different units in the area to solicit feedback on the project. Following those community meetings, we did go to the neighborhood board in May, the Waipahu neighborhood board. At both of these meetings, I felt that the community strongly supported affordable housing projects. They did have concerns, really general concerns to the vicinity, to the city there, but we're really hoping to address their concerns and with our project moving forward. This next slide shows a vicinity map. So to orient ourselves first, so the bottom right side is the Makai side and the upper left is the Malka side. The left of the screen would be the Eva or the Waianae side, and the right side of the screen would be the Diamond Head side there. Our project is at the middle left of the screen, that project site. We're right along Waipahu Street, 0.3 miles from the West Lock Rail Station. So we're really in a convenient location in Waipahu, within walking distance to the rail station, parks such as Honolulu Park, Waipahu Town Center, which has grocery stores such as Seafood City, Long's, Popeyes, Starbucks, as well as New Hope Leeward. In the upper right side of the screen, just for reference, was the Kamehameha School's Kiawalau project near that next rail station. But we're at really the first rail station in Waipahu with the gateway to the west side there. This next slide shows our project site, and to orient ourselves here, on the bottom left of this image is Waipahu Street, which we're fronting. So the Malka side would be kind of that bottom left side there. Our project site is on a 37,000 square foot parcel that's zoned AMX2, and we are within the Waipahu transit-oriented district. This next slide shows our project affordability. So on the left, we have a rendering of our 15-story building. The affordability, we're providing 196 units, 1 manager's unit, so 195 of those units will be affordable rental units. The unit mix will consist of 114 1-bedrooms, 58 2-bedrooms, and 24 3-bedrooms. All of our units will be affordable and priced at a maximum of 80% of the area and median income and below, with a number of units down at 30% AMI and below. This next excuse me. This next slide shows project info. So our building height will be 15 stories or 155 feet high. The first 3 stories, level 1 to level 3, will include primarily a parking podium. So it'll have 179 vehicle stalls and 118 bicycle stalls. On level 4, we have our amenity deck and our residential units on that floor. And on level 5 through level 15 will consist of residential units there. This next slide shows a ground floor plan. I wanted to highlight on the bottom left corner. So on the left side of this would be Waipahu Street, and that's where our main, or our entrance is gonna be to the parking garage. At the bottom left corner, we have our resident services coordinator, management, reception, lobby, restrooms, and our conference room area there. I wanted to highlight too, with Michael's Development, one thing that they do is they partner with a nonprofit organization to provide a multifaceted social service opportunities for residents. So this could be anything from helping them with financial planning to scheduling group activities on the amenity deck or in the community garden there. This next slide shows our amenity levels plans. So Michael's Development prides themselves in providing extensive community facilities for all of the residents to enjoy. In brown, we have our indoor amenity areas, which include a laundry room, multi-purpose room, warming kitchen, an activity room, and a fitness room. In the outdoor recreation deck, which is the green area, we have barbecue pavilions, community gardens, a fitness loop, as well as a dog park in the upper right there. This is a floor plan on level 5 through 15. It's a typical floor plan where we have 17 units per floor from 1 to 3 bedrooms. I also wanted to note that our units are sized for families. Our 1-bedrooms are about 490 square feet. Our 2-bedrooms are about 760 square feet, and our 3-bedrooms are over 1,000 square feet. This next slide has a lot of information there, but I wanted to highlight the requested exemptions. So as y'all know, with the 201H affordable project, we are requesting exemptions from various zoning standards to help this project be feasible. From the top, we're asking for a building height up to 155 feet. In the LUO, it's limited to 60 feet now. The density, the floor area ratio, we're asking to go up to 5.5 FAR. The third row, the building area, we're asking to have a lot coverage of 80% of the lot. Our front yard, we're asking to encroach into the 10 feet setback. So we'll build, excuse me, we'll build our building about 5 feet from the front yard there. The next row, the setbacks, so we're going to be encroaching into the height setbacks. And the next line, the loading stalls. So we are providing 2 loading stalls, which is required in the LUO, but our largest stall will be a little bit smaller than what's required. So typically you need 35 feet long, 12 feet wide, and 14 feet high vertical clearance. We're gonna have 30 feet long, 12 feet wide, and a 12.5 foot vertical clearance. So it'll be about 1.5 feet shorter there. The next 2 items are our park dedication exemption, or we're asking for an exemption from the park dedication requirement for this affordable housing project. And similarly, we're asking for an exemption from the various permit review, utility connection, and facility fees for the affordable housing. Within that request is a Board of Water Supply deferral, and we do support the CD1 that includes that, as well as Board of Water Supply's comment on this resolution there. The last item is kind of an all-inclusive item, but there are various TOD standards that we're asking for exemption for, and this includes building placement, building transparency, loading access, location, as well as active ground floor activities. There. This is the last slide I have here today. I kind of wanted to highlight what the price point is for these and what the income restriction is going to be. So in the upper left, we just have our units. Again, 114 1-bedrooms, 58 2-bedrooms, and 23 3-bedrooms. Highlighted in light green is kind of a sample of a 2-bedroom unit. So on the bottom left, we have our income schedule. So at 60% AMI for a family of 3, 2 adults, 1 child, they would be limited to families earning up to $70,740. On the bottom right would be their rent of a 2-bedroom unit, which would be capped at $1,768. And that rental unit is monthly, of course, and would include all utilities, so electricity, water, maintenance fees in there as well. And these numbers get updated every year by the state and by the city, so we would keep up to date with the standards there. And thank you. I'm available for any questions.
Oh, okay, mahalo. We'll defer to Councilmember Wire, or is it Councilmember Okimoto's district?
Actually, it's Councilmember Toba's district.
Toba. Okay. Why don't you ask the questions for Councilmember Toba?
Or I'll ask for myself, but if Chair would indulge. And just quickly, because I know we're kind of pushing towards the end of committee. So appreciate your presentation, Mr. Sato. Just wanted to walk through a couple points. So you said you did present at the Waipahu Neighborhood Board?
Yes, we presented in May.
And then they took no position on the
They didn't
project.
take a position.
And then you said in total it's 195 units plus the manager's unit, and those are all 30% to 80% AMI units?
Yeah, so they're all 30% to 80% AMI and below, aside from that 1 manager unit.
Awesome. Okay, appreciate that. And then you had referenced the location by Ho'ai'ai, or the West Lock Station. And so is your reading or understanding of the Waipahu Neighborhood TOD plan that, as you head west, it contemplated higher buildings or heights at the far end of Waipahu, and then of course as you headed east, that's where the other project you referenced was maybe in the shorter contemplated area? Or just to put another way, the TOD plan contemplates higher buildings in this portion of the TOD area.
Right, that's correct, Councilmember Wire. So in the TOD plan, one of the things one of their goals is to have a mixed use of various residential levels, from affordable to market, as well as commercial and other retail uses. So we really feel like we're complying with the TOD plan and really supporting the community vision by providing affordable rentals really in walking distance to commercial as well as the rail station.
Okay, appreciate that. And then just last question, I think This is the area, if I'm reading correctly in the plan, where educational services were identified. I think because of that's probably what the existing use was at the time. But can you share a little bit more about the school on the parcel and what's going to happen with that?
Yeah, so the, excuse me. So currently there's the preschool Alphabet land on the parcel, and they've have a lease on the property. The property owner, it's owned in a trust right now, wants to sell the project. So they're working with Michael's development to help, sell the development, transfer it to them so they can develop an affordable housing project there. Their lease expires at the end of 2025, in the middle of summer. So we wouldn't start construction until after that date.
Okay, so just to make sure I understood, the owner was already contemplating or wanting to sell the property.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, any further questions for Mr. Sato? Okay, Councilmember DeSantis.
Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Sato, and thank you, Chair, for the opportunity to ask the questions. I wanted to go back. Could you go back to the slide about the market rents? Yes, that one. So I see the monthly rent for a one bedroom is $1,965 a month. How is that calculated for the 80% AMI folks?
Right, so these numbers, the bottom left and bottom right, the income schedule and monthly rent, these numbers are taken from the DPP or the state standards, which base it off the federal HUD guidelines. So every year, HUD comes out with income schedule and monthly rentals for all the municipalities, and we look at that and then adopt our own standards.
So this is a standard that's across the board for all projects here that come before us that for which the HUD rules apply?
Yes, in the city. So it's a little, the DPP actually adopts further guidelines, so it could vary slightly with DPP and the state, but they're generally similar in Honolulu.
Are these, perhaps this is a better question for the director, is this the rent for all 80% AMI one bedrooms that the city approves and participates in? I understand that there's an issue with Bill 7 projects. I don't know if the director is familiar with this. We may bring this up in the Housing Committee later today.
So you're asking whether these apply across the board for...
Including to Bill 7 projects.
So Bill 7 projects, I believe, are exempt, or it doesn't apply to Bill 7 projects, the rules that are being referred to for this project, as far as the income rental schedule.
Okay. And then are these different than the Section 8 fair market rents?
Yes. Yeah.
So for this one, we are using the HUD standard, not the Section 8 standard.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. We'll ask more questions about this at the housing meeting.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Sato, you wanted to respond?
I just wanted to add that we will be pursuing LIHTC and other state funding. So oftentimes state becomes the regulatory agency on these monthly rental rates. So it wouldn't fall under DPP's purview for that requirement.
Okay, Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Hi, Mr. Sato. Thank you for your presentation. Definitely love the project. I would love to find out just generally relating to park dedication requirements. I know that it is a little strict, the reason for requirements, but of course noting that there are a lot of open space and for recreation and whatnot. But do we know in comparison to the requirement for the amount of park dedication and what the amount of park dedication is on the project right now?
Yeah, so generally park dedication is 110 square foot provided per unit. So for our project, it would be about 25,000 square feet of park is required. We're providing about 11,000 square feet, so a little bit less than half there.
Okay, understood. And I just, going back to the general sense of park dedication, because as we now are starting to look at areas that are a lot denser and, of course, park dedication is one of the main exemptions that we give. If later down the line we should be looking at I guess, what types of park dedications are in the ordinances. So if you have any thoughts about that.
Thank you for that question. I think park dedication it's a good requirement. I mean, it's there for a reason. We
Yeah.
want to have our residents be able to enjoy park space, which is something that's very beautiful about Hawaii and Oahu in general. For what we see us RMTAL as the agent for affordable housing developers, we often see them need to request these park dedication exemptions in order to make their project feasible to provide these affordable rental rates. So I think it's something to consider, that it's something we see consistently. Maybe it's worth exploring changes in the regulations to work with affordable housing projects.
Right, because even though it does have half the square footage of what is required through the, I guess, equation for park dedication, it is noted that there are a lot of things to open space and recreation areas. So I do want to note that. So thank you for your feedback on that, and look forward for further discussion on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Councilmember Cordero. Councilmember Okimoto.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of the discussion. Aloha, Mr. Sato. I had a couple of questions based on the project affordability on, let's see what page this is. It actually talks about the number of units. I know in other projects, sometimes with affordable housing, I realize that it's a gamble. There's a risk that's taken from the developer and from the owner of the property, or just people who are investing in it. What are the keeping that in mind, what is the application process? And I know that sometimes the units aren't filled. So what is the plan to make sure that these units actually become rented? And what is the application process? Because I have heard of other projects where it's being built, but they're not able to have the rooms be occupied.
So a lot of that depends on the management company. So one of the great things about this project is Michael's development is developing it, but they're going to be working with their partner, the Michael's management side, to really manage the site through the affordability term there. As far as the market plan, generally, broadly speaking, developers will put out, ads, and they'll put out advertisements to try to get residents to apply. They typically go through a lottery schedule. If there's a lot of applicants, they typically go through lottery, or they go through a first come, first serve basis. I'm not sure of our exact plans for our current project, but I know we do plan on marketing towards the Waipahu families, because if you look at our unit mix, we go from one bed to 3 bedrooms. So we're really trying to market to the families and the people who live in Waipahu or in the Ewa area, so that they can stay, near where they grew up. So I do know that part of our plan is to really try to market towards those people.
Thank you for clarifying that. So just to, again, clarify, Michael's will be taking over, and they're the ones that will be managing the property.
Yep, that's the plan.
Okay, really quick, and I really think it's wonderful that the gear is towards the families in the area. Keeping that in mind, and you mentioned, even with the 1 bedrooms, you're having children, and this is something that we did talk about before, but I wanted to ask on how this will impact the school system. Do we have the proper infrastructure around? Are these just families who are currently living that are shifting their location so the kids will be in the school district, or how does that work? Do we have appropriate schools in the area to accommodate the families that will be hopefully living in the units?
No, that's a great question, Councilmember Okimoto. So with 201H projects or in the entitlement process, we always reach out to DOE to get their comments on it. We did reach out and to confirm capacity and give them an update on our upcoming development. There's a very brief discussion, but they seem supportive of the project, and they're looking forward to our education impact fees that we would pay along with our development as well. My understanding is they don't take account for where the people are coming from. So they don't say, if you have 100 units of people that were in Waipahu moving to a different place in Waipahu, they still look for that education impact fee per unit basis. I know they do calculations for their projections. I'm not too aware of that.
But I realize that the school is the Department of Education is a state function, but are the schools equipped to receive students that will be living in this new building who maybe were currently currently aren't, or when this is done, who weren't in the school district area? Have we looked into that, how the schools around this area will be impacted?
Yes, yeah, we looked into that.
So they'll be able to accommodate.
And they'll have capacity.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Okay, any further questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Sato. Okay, next we can call upon Ms. Kathy Mitchell, BWS.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee. My name is Kathy Mitchell with the Board of Water Supply, and the Board of Water Supply, for the most part, supports Resolution 23-281 for the Waipahu Street Affordable Rental Housing Project. We have provided a suggested amendment for consistency and clarification. It's in our written testimony if you have any questions.
Okay. Let's see, who shall I ask the question? What is Councilmember Cordero, what is the amendment by BWS that they support, that they always submit
Exemption?
by deferral for until they get the certificate of occupancy?
All right.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Any other questions for Ms. Mitchell? Okay, thank you very much. Hope to see you next year. Okay, next we have Director Apuna.
Thank you, Chair. We are supportive of this project and this resolution because of it's a great project. The affordability is there. So we're here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions for the director? Well, the chair has one question, Director Apuna. Throughout the year of 2023, how many applications have you processed that adds up to a great number of homes that you folks have really developed, and not developed, but facilitated? Affordable.
The number of 201H projects.
All affordable.
So,
from your Bill 7 to 201H.
Like units?
Huh?
And then
Yeah. It's public record. That way the general public knows what.
I think we've processed 5 201H projects in the last calendar year. And I don't know how many units that is, but it's.
I just wanted you to take the credit, as far as the department and the employees. No, for real. You know, the projects that we talked about 2 years ago, was it Kapolei Parkway to Aiea Sugar Mill? You know, if you add it all up, that's what I wanted you folks to share with the general public out there who is listening to us, that we are working very hard on behalf of the residents of Oahu. Yeah, that's all it was. But thank you very much for the support. Oh, Liz has the number.
Yeah, and all thanks goes to staff who work on these projects. So. 511 new units based on those 5 projects.
Okay, see?
Thank you.
On top of the other projects that we've adopted this year. Any other questions for the director? If not, okay, let's proceed with remote testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any remote testifiers?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you very much. We will now proceed with the in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any in-person testifier? And I do see a name, Mr. Ricky Cassidy. Rick.
Does that work? Okay, thank you. I've done this, I've worked for Michael's ever since KPT. They do a really good job. They're a big national organization, so they know what people who live in the residences that they construct can use. I'm stoked beyond all measure. I started working with the original ones, and now they have a really good leader who is from Waipahu, and she's a pain in the butt about delivering a product appropriate for that community more than I've ever seen. She's engaged. We got into it, whether we should do single studios, 1s or 2s. She came down hard on the singles and the 1s. That's where the the biggest demand is, across the board, are for those units. Nice things about singles is that they won't burden the schools, at least not until later when there's more affordable housing there. The neighbor is a client of mine. Gary Pinkston runs the Waipahu Shopping Center, does a really good job. There's a ton of stuff to do. He's real proactive, gives a bunch of scholarships to Campbell High School. And then down to, I could keep going, but the buzzer hasn't gone off. I do know a lot. I mean, I basically, you know, Tyler, your question about what, you know, the incomes, my rant will be that it's based on census. Census has a really hard time identifying in neighborhoods like Waipahu and Klee just who's there, because that's not natural for many of those people to speak to government, and so they really miss stuff. But this is a traditional town that was booming. I mean, my professional career was Gentry and Royal Kania. It was, I loved the area. And then to see a renaissance, it's going to be a heck of a boon for rail too. So if there's any questions, I hope not, because then it's lunchtime.
Okay, no questions for Mr. Cassidy. Let's proceed on for another in-person testimony. Okay, Ms. Angela Young, would you like to summarize your testimony in strong support?
Okay. Thank you, Chair.
You're welcome.
Aloha, City Council, testifying, Angela Melody Young, testifying in support of this resolution and the developer to be supportive of affordable housing and to encourage HART ridership. So in an earlier public discussion from the Hawaii House Democrats from this year, the Senate and House Housing Chair discussed their focus on state-owned lands near transportation. So the HART is now in operation, and the goal is to not get new cars on the road with future development. The state wants to look at already owned parcels, so no extra subsidies or requirements from taxpayers along the transit corridor. People can walk in the district, things are accessible, and the state is the largest landowner in the rail corridor, and it is surrounded by hundreds of acres of state-owned land, and the intent is to help the city and the state with the future development on the line instead of going into suburban or undeveloped areas. And there are various stations such as the Waipahu District and the Honolulu Community College, Leeward Community College, Kakako Ward District that are going to be worked on. So affordable housing is going to be the highest and best use of the portfolio along the rail station. And so we are in support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Young. Is there anyone else wishing to testify in person? If there is no one else, members, we are in discussion. Okay, if not, the chair would like to recommend that Resolution 23-281 be amended to the posted Committee Draft 1 as further amended as requested by the Board of Water Supply, Ms. Mitchell, to amend Condition 11 to allow a deferral of the payment of the water system facility charges and installation of water service fees estimated at $400,000 until the installation of the water meter is complete. Is there any discussion, any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution has been amended to a Committee Draft 1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 23-281, Committee Draft 1, be reported out for adoption. Any discussions, objections, or reservations? Hearing none. So at this time, members, there being no further business, the meeting is adjourned till next year, January. Thank you very much. Aloha.